of the night. In the heat of the day. When I close my eyes, when I look your way, when I meet the fear that lies inside, when I hear you say, in the heat of the moment, say, someday, 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 someday,
Yeah, bringing in the classics today. That's right, a little bit of Sisters of Mercy. How are you all doing, chat? It's Monday, and you know what that means? Or do you know what that means? Because I don't think anyone knows what that means, because it doesn't really mean anything special. That's the fact. How are you all doing? What's going on? What are you up to? Good start to the stream. I'm sure you all enjoyed that. Yeah, it just means it's Monday. I'm live and it's Monday. I'm back. It does mean that, to be honest. It does mean that I'm back on Twitch, and you know, I'll be doing a stream. That's what that means. How are we all doing? It's good to see all of you. We got some people in the chat. We got Lady Balls, hello. Adorable. We've also got Vord. We've also got 30 Bird, Gomma Master, Thasmadar. How are we doing? 30 Bird says, I'm back. I'm homesick from school today. Okay, I got bad news for you, Lady Balls. What kind of school? You got the week off? Fuck yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go. Bit sick here, overwhelmed with seed transfers. Gotcha. That is unfortunate. But, you know, I'm sure you'll get there. I'm sure you'll get better, and I'm sure it'll be all right. What was I going to say? Yeah. So, 30 Bird saying in the chat, Muel perfected chili, how much gravy was added? I don't know how much of a joke that is, because I was talking about gravy earlier in the Discord. And, hey, Pat Potato, how's it going? Good to see you. And, gravy is sometimes referred to as just like, you know, sauce. You know, like I've heard some like Indian people like refer to, or well, South Asian people at least refer to like curry sauce as gravy. Like the sauce is the gravy. So maybe the sauce of the chili could be gravy too. I don't know, man. You know? It's certainly got some elements of gravy. You know, like taking the flavor of vegetables and, you know, turning it into a nice thick sauce. So, you know, if you want the answer to that, the genuine answer, if that is the kind of gravy you're referring to, about 3 cans worth. I've completely given up on trying to understand what English-speaking people say when they mean when they say gravy. Yeah. Same, adorable. Yeah, it's whatever. Who fucking cares? I've had a pretty good weekend. I hung out with a friend on Saturday. I was with my partner, as per usual, on Friday. And we were... What did we do on Friday? Yeah, we watched some... we had fajitas. And we watched some Always Sunny in Philly. It's so fucking funny watching it with someone who's never watched it before. Because, like... There's all these, like, classic episodes, like the one where they go to Jersey Shore and Mac and Frank get lost in the sea and they lose the rum ham and, like, fucking Lena's just pissing herself. Like, she's just absolutely fucking destroyed. As soon as Frank starts going like, wait a minute, the rum ham! Like, she just loses it. She was, like, laughing so much I thought she was gonna die. And that makes me laugh so much that I think I'm gonna die. So pretty good all around. It was a joke to Discord, but now I'm expanded in knowledge. You are, aren't you? Yes, that's very good. Hey Goblin Hugger, how you doing? Everybody go follow Goblin Hugger, they're great. Now unfortunately the stream is started a bit late today. I don't know, it's pretty normal, right, for that to happen. But I can't stay up late tonight because I got to be up early in the morning. I'm getting a coach to London very early in the morning, ridiculously early, but that's because it's a London trip, right? So, yeah, I got to be like in and out of here today. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, you know? We'll see what we go with. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening in politics. Like, we covered a lot of it last night in Red Planet. If you don't know about Red Planet, just go follow it. Go check out Red Planet. It's really good. Yeah, we're gonna do reaction speedrun. Yeah, I'm just gonna, like, not pause any of the videos. Maybe. I don't know. Condensed stream. That's what it's gonna be. And unfortunately, there won't be a stream tomorrow night because I'll still be getting back from London. Because we are leaving... For some reason, some smart motherfucker thought it'd be a really good idea to leave London at 5 o'clock. And I'm like, you know how long we're going to be on this coach? Like, I have no clue what the fuck they were thinking. No clue. So, anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But there won't be a stream. That's a fact. There definitely won't be a stream. Yeah, I don't know, you know, it stinks of northerners who've never been to London, right? Organizing a trip to London. Like, when we get down there, it's going to be perfect timing because the rush hour is just going to be over, you know, we'll get in there nice and quick, no problem, right? It might be a bit of a struggle getting out of Manchester, you know, with the traffic and stuff at that time. But also, getting back, oh boy. Yeah, the journey normally takes 4 hours, but if we're trying to get out of London at rush hour, it's gonna be like 5. Do you know what I mean? Whoa, what's this?
Get something tasty in London.
Das Madar, thank you so much for the £25. But I guarantee you right now, I will be spending 0 money in London, and that is because, well, it's London. I'm taking packed lunches. I'm taking my protein shakes. I'm taking my own water, right? No fucking way. But I appreciate the £25 regardless. It will actually go towards one of my bills. Thank you so much for subbing off Twitch. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. I really appreciate that. £25 is a lot of dough. Thank you so much. Thank you. It means the world. Prepare something tasty. Oh, listen. I've been talking about this all day. I've got my fucking prime chili. It's all done. It's all ready. It's fucking sick. You know, I've had a really good day cooking chili, and that's because I figured out a new technique. When I would put the chicken in first, right, I would just like try and brown it in the same pan as the chili to like save on washing up, you know what I mean? But because there's so much chicken, I make chili for like 3 days, basically. That's what I do. I make a big pot of chili, or like I make a big stew or a big curry. It lasts for about 3 days, right? So what I do is I put about 1 kilo of chicken in there, because that's how much I need for my macaroons to get swole. It's just a good amount of food to have over 3 days. And so I've basically got that all ready and stuff. And the thing that I did different today was I browned the chicken in a different pan. So I just sealed it up on like a nice hot skillet. And then I put it in the chili, and it's made it, so prime. And also I got like the spices right this time. I put in 3 finger chilies, which, you know, as the name suggests, they're like about the same size as a finger. Everybody's got different size fingers, but like definitely the size of one of my fingers. So 3 of them, and a decent dusting of like cayenne pepper and chili powder, just to sort of like, you know, balance it all out. Everything seasoned, you know. Oh, it fucking tastes so good, chat. Holy shit. Genuinely wish I could make a big pot of chili for the whole chat, because I actually, you know me, I love big food and I love feeding people. Like when I make food for my partner, it's one of the biggest like joys of my entire life. I just really, really like feeding people. I like to see the face when I give them a scran and it's good, you know? So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be eating tomorrow. It's all there already. Paprika and all. Listen, you can't have a chili if you don't have, you need to have cumin, paprika, salt and pepper, obviously. It blows my mind that people don't like, you know, season their shit with salt and pepper. Like, it's standard procedure, right? So, paprika, cumin, salt and pepper, cayenne pepper, chili powder, and then you want at least garlic and chilies in it with an onion. Olive oil or whatever kind of oil, it's up to you. And what else? Yeah, that's it basically. Fremily, how is it going? Good to see you. I don't know who it is in the chat, either Fred or Emily, but it doesn't fucking matter because they are extremely cool and base streamers. Go and show some love to Fremily, Fred and Emily, beautiful friends, lovely people. Please go and show them some love. How are you doing, friends? What's good? Kortadov, good to see you too. What time is it for you? It's 11 here. Lady Balls, I'm gonna ask you one more time. You either didn't hear me or you ignored my question the last time. So this is your second chance. You said you were off sick from school. What kind of school? I'm giving you an opportunity here to be honest with me and not build, you know, the foundation of like a, you know, chatter streamer relationship that is, you know, based on lies, basically, or ignorance. So like, let me know. Let me know what school it is, please. American suburb chili never does. Yeah, salt and pepper, it's important, you know? I like the idea of chili, but I can't stand the taste of chili powder. I'm more of a goulash person. Goulash fucks, depending on where it's from. Hungarian, Polish goulash, and some, like, German goulash is okay. I've had some of the worst, you know, goulash from Germany, to be honest, unfortunately. You're a junior in high school. I really appreciate you telling me, Lady Balls, but I've got to be honest with you. This stream is not suitable for people under the age of 18 at all. So, unfortunately, I've got to ban you. No hard feelings. I appreciate you being 100 with me. But, yeah, we talk about some shit here that is just not appropriate for minors. So, I hope you respect that. Good day. And solidarity. Anyway. Yeah, goulash, super good. Austrian goulash as well. I've really had some good Austrian goulash in my time. Yeah. You should buy some MSG and use that for seasoning too. I've been meaning to do this. I do want to get like MSG and start using it instead of salt. I'm not sure how clever that is in terms of nutrition, because I know that we need a bit of sodium in our body, but I imagine MSG has the sodium that you need in it, right? Because it's monosoda glutamate or something, right? What does MSG stand for? What is that? MSG acronym. Salt and MSG go together well. Oh yeah, I imagine that they do, yeah. Excuse me, MSG stands for monosodium glutamate. Yeah. I thought so. Hey, Dice Goblin, how's it going? And hello, Ludonar. How are you? Good evening to you too. So I had a nice Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day in the UK yesterday. I got my mum round. We had a cup of tea. And I don't know if any of you were here on Thursday when we were looking at the story of Nine Inch Nails and like David Bowie. And I spoke about my sort of like history with people like, with, you know, my music taste and stuff like that. And my mum listened to David Bowie in the car and stuff like that. I know that a lot of people say David Bowie, and I think he did say David Bowie, but my mum always calls him David Bowie. So now I've got into calling him David Bowie again. I don't fucking know. Anyway, yeah, I had a round, and so I was telling people on the stream on Thursday about that, about how like her music influenced me, and then I found out that like, you know, Nine Inch Nails and David Bowie, they were, you know, doing collabs and tours and stuff together, and I told her about all that, and she really appreciated it. And then something really interesting. I did not have my mum pegged for this at all, right? But she showed me a bunch of like rave music. She was like, oh my God, have you heard of the KLF? And I was like, this is all like, you know, hardcore house, you know, amen breaks, breakbeat kind of stuff in these tunes. And, you know, she like enjoyed a little bit of rap here and there as well. And I'm like, my mum influenced my music tastes way more than I even know. If she was listening to like, you know, house music, like 90s, late 80s, early 90s house music when I was in her belly. Well, it wouldn't have been early 90s because I wasn't born in the 90s, but like, you know, late 80s house music. Fucking hell. That makes so much sense to me. Dasmadar says, I'm Austrian, kind of close to Hungary. Geographically, you get such a variety of goulash in the general proximity. It's amazing. Best ones from my mum, though. Everybody says that, innit? You know what I mean? Everybody says that. Oh, my mum makes the best one. And you know what? I'm not about to argue. I'm not about to argue at all. Unless your mum is one of those guys that Tanara Double Chocolate has a look at. You know? On her TikToks. Everybody's so creative. Hey, Mr. Dank, how's it going? Good to see you. And hello, Johnny. Everybody go follow Johnny. Excellent streamer, good friend. How you doing, mate? So, exciting day tomorrow. Basically, I'm going to be down in London with the tenants union. And we have, like, a whole day planned where we're basically planning on making MPs' lives as miserable as possible. That's not true. It's a coalition with a bunch of different people. Generation Rent, London Renters Union, I think Living Rent, Scotland, a bunch of different housing activist groups. We're all going to be down there together collectively, basically trying to hold MPs to account and lobby. We're essentially trying to lobby the government to make some changes to housing laws in the country. Do you know what I mean? I personally, I'm not sure it's going to go much further than the conversations that we have with MPs and ministers tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. You never fucking know. Tell them fuck you from me because my landlord is putting the rent up. Let me tell you, Fremily, you should get in touch with London Renters Union, become a member and raise a dispute with them and have them basically help you tell your landlord to fuck off, because you don't have to put your rent up. You don't have to be okay with that. You could just say no. And that's actually one of the things that I'm going to be talking about. I'm actually doing a talk tomorrow at this thing. There's a collaboration section that we're doing with London Renters Union. And we're going to be talking about how to build power, right, in unions. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do in GMTU. It's what LRU are really good at, like really good at doing it at LRU. So I'm going to be really excited to, you know, hear from their representatives tomorrow and their members and stuff. And I've already told them to do one instead of be paying more than 100 more a month. But yeah, I might have to do that. Honestly, do it. Yeah, seriously, because it's at the end of the day, what you have to remember is landlords operate outside of the law because the law protects them, right? What people think of when they think of like law protections and legal protections and stuff like that, it's like, oh, well, there are legal protections in place for renters. And it's like, well, no, actually, because the way that the law actually works is that the police just do what the fuck they want. And when it comes to the courts, it depends on whether you've got a fucking biased judge or not, innit? Right? That's the facts. That's the facts. And when it comes to being protected by the law, the people who are actually protected by the law are the landlords. And so they operate outside the law all the time. So you have to meet them in that arena. And I'm not saying break the law. Could put yourself in a damaging situation if you do that. But what I am saying is that meet them in a manner that says to them, we're both mercenaries and we're meeting on like a battlefield and we're going to negotiate. Basically, that's what's going to happen. It's like a business deal. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how you have to do it. But speak to LRU, honestly. Speak to London Renters Union because they could definitely help you with that, and I'm sure they'll be able to support you. Let me see if I can get a link in the chat, actually. London Renters Union. London Renters Union. Yeah, I got the... I got the link right here. Go to join us and go to get support. Basically, it's really fucking good, and you should just get involved anyway with London Renters Union because like housing is one of the biggest issues in the UK at the minute, and the reason why housing is such an important issue to get behind is because it affects everybody, absolutely fucking everybody. Of course, it affects migrants, queer people, black and minority ethnic Brits, like way worse than cishet white folks, but generally speaking, most people get fucked over by their landlord and or social housing provider quite often in this country because there is a housing crisis. There's a housing crisis going on, and you have to basically turn around and just say fucking no, mate. You know what I mean? Fucking nah, not happening. Sorry, no rent rise, no fucking unfair eviction. No eviction in general, to be honest, is my view. Hey Sterling, how's it going? Everybody go follow Sterling's Kitchen as well, folks. Excellent streamer, lovely lad. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Kordov says, has the Tory government been able to make renting even worse than it already was in the UK? 60%, I believe, is the number. Don't quote me on that. 60% of Tory MPs are landlords. So you do the math. Hey Shafiq, how you doing? Welcome in. Yeah, exactly. No such thing as a fair eviction. Yeah, no such thing. Everybody should have the right to a house. So there you go. It is up there with air and water. Homelessness kills. It literally kills, and it's one of the biggest problems in this fucking country. Been very busy, as you would imagine, in the trade union world. Yeah, I imagine so, dude. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. So listen, we are going to crack on and do some reacting. We're doing a bit of reacting. I got a good first video for us to start with, folks. This is a channel that I'm tangentially aware of. I'm not entirely certain about the content, but from what I could tell, it's really good and deserves a lot more eyes. This is a video that we're going to be watching from Third World Miss Explores. I don't know if that's the full name of the channel. I think it is. Let me just double check. Yeah, nice to know they have a strong incentive to fix the problem. Yeah, they do. Yeah, that is the name of the channel, Third World Miss Explores. She makes videos about apartheid. basically. And that's one that we're going to be watching today. We're going to be watching Who Messed Up South Africa
The beginning of
and How from this creator. So, without further ado, get your hazmats on because we're entering into the politics zone. Set title: South Africa's Apartheid. Learning. You know what? Let's call it that. Learning about South Africa's apartheid. Boom. There we go. There we fucking go. All right, chat. Fucking Boom City. Let's take a little listen. Here is a link to the video. Is it a link to the video? Yes, it is. Please go and like Third World Misexplores. Please go like the video. Please go subscribe. Go give her a comment, etc., etc., etc. We're going to be checking out the video right now. So, you know, maybe play it in a muted tab alongside the stream. That would be very, very, very poggers of you if you
Often,
did
the
that.
question is asked, why did apartheid endure as long as it did when the black majority so obviously opposed it and the white minority claimed to have taken issue? Today, so many brandish the referendum that was the beginning of the end as a badge of honor, but very few, not even de Klerk, who was so jubilant about it, would or will seriously engage on the lingering effects of the policy and what became of the Afrikaners who were so convinced of the legitimacy of separate development.
Right.
The answer is that apartheid South Africa, which according to the National Party was everywhere that had been cleared of black residential areas for white industry and suburbs, and definitely not the land prisons they called Bantustans, ran like a well-oiled machine due to the steady contributions of fervent white nationalists, the likes of which you'll meet shortly. These nationalists were administrators and professionals. Many were patriarchal heads of wealthy and influential families. These people and their ideology didn't get blown to smithereens when Nelson Mandela was freed. They got a negotiated settlement, assurances that the new South Africa would not be hostile towards them, and that reconciliation, not justice and restitution, would reign supreme. So many to
And it's so funny that you hear a certain sect of, you know, online leftists claim that racism against whites exists in South Africa, you know, despite all these institutional protections that the people who enacted apartheid actually had when it came to the agreements that they made during, like, negotiations and shit. Like, so fucked, man.
today distance themselves from the public visage of Afrikaner nationalism that was apartheid and project as fiercely patriotic, all the while proclaiming that neither they nor their families derived any benefit from the system, not a childhood free of systematic terrorism, not an education, not a network of contacts, etc., etc.
Okay.
Lovingly dubbed white wine. There is today in South Africa a tendency amongst our compatriots to decry
Hang on a second, let me read this. White wine. When whites complain about the unfairness of political correctness, affirmative action, or no longer being allowed to use ethnic slurs against others. Usually then complains that the government and media is now oppressing them and how unfair the world is to them. Yeah, we know about these guys. We know about these guys.
quite jovially the failures of the ANC government, a tactic to safely disguise dehumanizing racist language as criticism on administrative issues, and to become impatient with the fact that either too much or not enough has changed in 30 years. They attribute their upper middle class status in a country where they're a minority to hard work, perseverance, discipline, and other things I saw on the walls of aggressively professional spaces in the early 2000s. Anyways, if that were the case, many more black people would be part of the affluent classes than is presently the case, and companies wouldn't be threatened with boycotts and shareholder walkouts for announcing stricter enforcement of mandated employment equity policies. No. The friction that dominates race relations is thanks in part to the lack of attempts to uproot the civic religion that is Afrikaner nationalism. And if we know the past history of nationalism, well, that should be enough to encourage a habit of watchful suspicion. What is up? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Bonolo.
Is it a little
if you join me for this
hold up. Is it a little quiet, chat? Shall I boost it a little bit?
Deep dive on the underpinning.
Oh, that might be too loud.
of apartheid.
I think that's better. Let's just rewind back to the actual open.
Watch for suspicion. What is up? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Bonolo, and I'd love it if you join me for this deep dive on the underpinnings of apartheid, from bitter einders to banker mentality, its cultural foundations and lasting effects that have got third world myths exploring who messed up South Africa.
Hell yeah.
Hindsight shows that neither the imperialist establishment of the British Cape Colony nor the international community were prepared for the sudden rise of Afrikaner nationalism in the first few decades of the 20th century. They were slow to understand the depths of white Afrikaner humiliation in the aftermath of the South African War, which is what scholars and journalists now prefer to call the Anglo-Boer War, as more than two sides were involved in the actual conflict. We've witnessed a steady re-emergence of right-wing populism in the 2010s and 2020s, evident in the frequent use of reverse apartheid rhetoric and accusations of pervasive wokeism from among.
So, you know, this is like, it's so stressful because, like, you know, you hear reactionaries, even reactionary leftists, say things like, oh, white people are getting, like, you know, treated really badly in South Africa now, you know, like, oh my gosh, blah, 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 right? And it's like, this is just what the right wing are saying in South Africa. This is what, like, the white fucking extremist nationalists are saying. Like, are you daft, bro? Like, you're just repeating the same fucking bullshit that they are. Like, holy fucking shit, man.
Afrikaner minority rights and
hey, apple chips.
Democratic circles disseminating political information on social media. Now seems like a good time to look at how the ideology of the Boers, a civic religion, first established itself so as to avoid making the same misjudgments. In the 1900s, the Boers were facing a steadfast group of outsiders in the form of George V's empire's establishment, taking control of the former colonies and Boer republics to form the Union of South Africa in 1910. In 1915, the last of the Boer guerrilla fighters in the war put up the Maritz Rebellion against the Union government, ending with the rebel surrender. These were the last men who lived what represents archetypal Afrikanerdom to me, maybe even a cornerstone of Afrikaner nationalism, the bitter einders, so called because they had resolved to keep fighting guerrilla style in the last stages of the South African War, with the hopes that the British would retreat, giving the Boers back control of the territory. They were irreconcilable with any idea of collaboration with their enemy, be that empire or native. They were patriots of the folk, owing to their perceivedly legendary historical journey, and could not be governed by.
Damn, where have you seen the Vogue before? The people/nation, but specifically any white in South Africa in agreement with the ideological stances of nationalist Afrikaners. Where have you seen that Vogue before, you know? That's right. That's right. 1930s, 1940s Germany, you know, the Volkswagen. You know?
An Anglophone administration because of what Johan Fourie calls extreme patriotism, marked by a feeling of superiority over others, which accentuates artificial differences between peoples and punishes outsiders. In the early years of the Union, elder Boers would have recalled the events of the Great Trek, while the Battle of Blood River held biblical sway over Dutch settlers where their future in Africa was concerned. A visceral sense of us and them took hold in the hearts and minds of white Afrikaners that would come.
No, of course the word comes earlier than the 30s and the 40s. Are you not watching the video? Are you not watching the video? We're talking about fucking racists, and I'm trying to say, like, what was another, you know, put two and two together, like, oh yeah, it came from blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know it's like the Dutch word for people, I know it's like the German word for people, but when it's used in this context, that's what I was trying to draw attention to. Also, hello Jojo, welcome to the stream. Everybody go follow Jojo.
To define their social, political and economic behavior for generations to come. Historically, bitter einders held significance to the Afrikaners who had survived war and a competitive settler economy as real patriotic heroes who took guns in hand to kill Rooineks and rescue Boer women and children. From this flowed
There's a reason. I understand that like Afrikaans is influenced by Dutch and Volk just kind of mean people. I know that, you know, the video essayist is trying to, you know, she's highlighted that for a reason, innit? She's put Volk in big fucking letters on the screen for a reason, innit? You know what I mean?
visually symbolism that was an important tool for normalizing the ideology as civic religion, as the goal had always been to rule the land. This symbolism celebrates ancestors who held slaves and violently subdued non-compliant natives, and who can be seen on sacred Afrikaner monuments. Johannes Balthazar Forster was born in December of 1915 into a big family on an Uitenhage farm. He got a qualification in law from the cradle of Afrikaner nationalism, Stellenbosch University, where he got involved in student politics of the 1930s, chaired the Debate Society and the Campus Junior National Party.
Chat, despite how it may seem, I do love all of you, each and every one of you, with my entire heart, my whole heart. I promise.
That's piss.
Right, there you go. Oh, something is broken. What's happened? Oh,
he could also never fully reconcile his ideology with the imperialist administration and sought active disruption of the Union government in his political activities. During World War II, he became involved with a grouping known as the Osewa Brandwag, the Oxwagon Sentinel. Ox wagons have long symbolized a pioneering spirit amongst white Afrikaners, since trains of these were used to navigate the interior in search of freedom in the 19th century. Because Germany and the Netherlands had supported the Boers in the establishment of their own republics, the Osewa Brandwag sided with them against the Allied forces and started organizing around the same time as war efforts began. A centenary public commemoration of the trek in 1938 was attended by approximately 100,000 people, another catalyst for the group's formation. The Bittereinders had...
So, like, you know, it's really important to look at this stuff and see, you know, where certain ideologies got their inspiration, right? You know? My God, my Volk, right? You got this big fucking eagle up here. Right? You know? It's really important to make these connections. And that's because white supremacy and colonialism go hand in hand, right? That's why it's really important for us to see these connections for what they are, you know? Colonialism has always stood, you know, in trying to dominate other people and othering people of other races, you know, in favor of the white race, right? Do you know what I mean? Like whatever whiteness is deemed to be at that time in history or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's like, oh well, you're Irish, so you're not white, or you're fucking, you know, etc. You might be like Italian, so you're not white, kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know, you've got to. We have to be aware of this because it's like, as fascism accelerates, right? Tries to like, you know, bust its head out of the fucking floorboards again, right? The neoliberal floorboards that try and bury it. We're just gonna start to see like more and more shit like this because they don't have any new ideas. You know what I mean? They don't have any new ideas. It's all the same shit again and again and again. The look that we have now, the look that we have in the 21st century is that we got the internet. We got education, we got leftist education all over the place, anti-fascist education, and you know we'll win, right? Because it's knowledge. Knowledge is power. But yeah, anyway, you see it there. It's right there.
Held hope for a far-off war to divert the British Imperial Army and government away from what the Boers believed to be their birthright, and I can't help thinking that these guys had similar wishes. Anyways, they were known to be nationalist socialists with anti-imperial, anti-communist, anti-black, and anti-Semitic motivations. When the Union administration declared war...
Damn, all holding fucking torches like that, wearing khaki and shit. That's interesting, isn't it? We got so many different fucking different examples of echoes of the present and the past, right? How that over here in the 1900s, lots of Italians working in mining were not considered white until also Turks started coming to work in the mines. Then all of a sudden Italians became white as opposed to Turks. Right, exactly. And lots of people would say that, like, you know, if you're going to talk about, like, actual sort of, you know, race, I guess, like, you know, development of melanin or whatever, you know, Turkey is Caucasian. Right, like Turks are Caucasian. That's where white, like, you know, people with a lack of pigment in the skin. That's where it all started. You know, like when people were developing around, you know, when humans were developing around, I don't know, like fucking millions of years ago and shit. So that's, you know, it's literally like the part of the world that's called Caucasia or something, or like some, you know, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, this looks like Charlottesville. Yeah, because this is what Charlottesville was trying to emulate, right? This is what they were just trying to, be like, oh, okay, what do we know that's like, you know, this deep, dark, fascist past that, like, not everybody knows, you know? And, yeah, that's what it is. Hey, Gurik, welcome to the stream. How you doing?
On Germany in 1939, Forster and his comrades refused to enlist for service, choosing instead to harass uniformed servicemen and generally disrupt war operations. Their own military wing, the Stormjars, blew up electrical and telecommunication lines and railroads used by the US Army, but Forster was arrested upon becoming a Stormyard general. The National Party of Milan renounced them, but when they got
the fucking armbands and everything, yo. Look at this shit. They got the fucking armbands.
General. The National Party of
motherfuckers looking like Goebbels.
Milan renounced them, but when
not really, he doesn't really.
They were thrown in internment camps. The old war wound was touched, and Afrikaner support for the establishment waned. When he was released in 1944, National Party were waiting with open arms, absorbing the Westerwald Brandwacht. Forster was elected into national legislature in 1953 and replaced Verwoerd after his death, picking up the baton where the old patriarch had left it. They shared a joviality about South African public administration that cannot be stomached. Forster called apartheid South Africa the happiest police state in the world and was described as billik in Afrikaans.
Wait, what? When Balthasar Johannes, when is this from? 1967. When Balthasar Johannes Vorster took over as South Africa's Prime Minister 6 months ago, the world had little reason to expect that he would be much different from the assassinated Hendrik Verwoerd, the apostle of apartheid. Vorster had, after all, been Verwoerd's police boss for 5 years and looked even tougher and more unbending than a white-thatched Verwoerd. But Vorster has been a considerable surprise. While basically not changing South Africa's policy of racial separation, he's proved far more reasonable than his predecessor, injecting some humanity and even humor into South Africa's heavy ideological climate. South Africans call his style billikheid, sweet reasonableness. I mean, I don't think that racial separation is reasonable. This guy is a bit funny, so what? He's like Trump, like he was a bit funny. He was a fascist, but he was like kind of funny, so that makes it fine, I guess.
Circles, someone with a cheerful disposition. Nadine Gordimer pointed out just how sinister this could get.
The easy life is on the white side of the colour bar, and I think all white people, all liberal-minded white people, have this sense of guilt. We come to terms with this guilt in one way or another. Women can afford to be softer, more charitable, regarded, as the more compassionate sex, a compassionate movement rather than something that is seeking for justice.
Forster had become exceedingly aware of a shorter run than hoped for white minority rule in Africa when Angola and Mozambique declared independence in the 70s, leaving a few southern states the last outposts. He had already scrapped the last 4 colored seats in parliament filled by white members and still refused legislative and political representation for the black population. His legacy is a Stellenbosch University building erected on stolen indigenous land, a police station that was apartheid headquarters for special services, and of course, merely maintaining the status quo, as Parker writes. He is included here as a stand-in for every single Afrikaner who actively supported apartheid to the bitter end. He was also part of a sort of president brotherhood, a secret society called the Inner Sanctum of Afrikaner nationalism, the Broederbond that bureaucratized state capture with legislation and corporate corruption. This started as a group of young white Afrikaners who were part of the new generation of Boers who saw a path to sovereignty in the language their forebears rejected. For principles,
just so everyone's aware, she's saying Boers, not boots. The CC keeps thinking that she's saying boots, but it's because of her accent. Yeah, it's Boers, like B-O-O-R or like B-O-E-R, I think.
They had the Dutch Reformed Church to look to, making white male only imperative with the advancement of the folk as goal. Among its founding members was a Dutch Reformed minister by the name of Du Toit, who was instrumental in the translation of the Bible into Afrikaans and promoted the language and nationalism in Die Patriot Journal, published by the Genootskap van Regte Afrikaners, or the Society of True Afrikaners, since 1876, a time when upper-class Dutch settlers regarded the patois of Afrikaans as kitchen Dutch, denoting its use by enslaved people, servants, the less educated, and poorer whites. On the front page of the Patriot, first issue stands: an Afrikaans newspaper. Who could have dreamt it? Most are like stubborn horses. They don't believe we have our own language. With our publication, we want to show the world that we do indeed have a language in which we can say exactly what we want. The Broederbond, Genootskap, and other like-minded Boers saw the language as a significant marker of the settler nation and promoted the idea that they had an identity linked to it, established when they were first placed in South.
So cringe. Are they quoting Darwin there? Is that... No, that's someone else. Just everybody looked like Darwin back then. Gideon Malherbe. What the fuck? Owner of the house where the GRA was founded. All right.
The idea that they had an identity linked to it, established when they were first placed in South Africa by God and then guaranteed rulership by their various violent conquests as a people apart. The Fifth Commandment heads the first edition of the Patriot, as well as the Taal or Afrikaner language monument in Paarl, erected by the Genootskap, which features other interesting inscriptions, giving insight to the appropriation and deployment of...
Right, yeah. Yeah, we don't learn about South Africa, and at my school we kind of learned about like the genocide of Native Americans. Kinda, it just kind of like it's ridiculous though, because the way that it was worded, they kind of made it, because obviously it was British people. It was British, Spanish, German, Dutch, just a combination of like Europeans, right? But like mostly British, especially in Canada, like British and French people up there. And yeah, it was the British that like murdered a bunch of Native Americans, like genocided them, all that kind of shit, in the name of God and all that bollocks, right? But like the way that they made it seem in the history books was that like the Brits who went to America weren't really Brits because they would do a revolution anyway. It was just so insane. I remember reading it and thinking like, oh God, yeah, those horrible Brits. Like, dude, they were sent there by the crown. Like the king was like, yeah, you gotta go to America, like find new lands and shit. And it's like, oh, what? There's these other people there? Well, they don't deserve to live there. Fucking murder them, And it's other shit like, they don't talk about like what happened in South Africa. Like, when and again, if there is any sort of like knowledge of South Africa, it's always sort of like handed over to like, oh well, the Dutch did that. And yeah, the Dutch did do that, but also, guess what? The Brits were there first. The British had like one of the worst empires in the fucking world. Horrific. This is fucking crazy. Yeah. Learning about South Africa, learning about Afrikaner nationalism is like learning about Hitler for the first time. It's like, oh my God. What the fuck? At least we learned that the people who went there weren't the good guys. Right. You know, the minimum, innit? The minimum. Hey, Beanie Gaby, how's it going? I learned more about the horrors of colonialism from English lessons than history, to be honest. Right, yeah, because in English lessons, like, you taught that it's like you would read, like, To Kill a Mockingbird and shit. And, like, you learn about, like, segregation and slavery and all that stuff. And then, although we did learn about, like, slavery in history class. That was, like, holy fucking shit. You know, our school was pretty good like that. But, again, you know, not everything was perfect, right? Again, a lot of, like, Britain's involvement in slavery was, like, downplayed and stuff. And it's the government that suppresses that stuff. The government is like, oh, we don't want people to know how bad we were in the past, which is nuts, because you can learn about how bad we were in the past, and that's important for the present, to make sure that it doesn't happen again, you know? But of course, maybe I don't know, maybe they want it to happen again. I don't know. You know, I wouldn't put it past the Tory government for sure. Over here, World War II being covered is relegated to covering 1939 to 1945, as opposed to talking about 1928 to 1939, the era of massive propaganda. Yeah, and also, like, you know, I think that it's important to point out that, you know, the states who won the war, the countries who won the war around Germany, just like completely devastating the German people, like punishing German people, right? You know, everyday working class German people for, you know, something that their king, you know, made happen kind of thing. Yeah, really fucked everybody over. And, yeah, it's like, you know, they love talking about how, like, Hitler happened and the Nazis happened and, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever, when it's like, yeah, but, like, you know, you could argue that, like, the same shit happened in the British Empire. You could argue that, like, every single slave that died, which, by the way, there were, like, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of slaves who died undocumented. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, there's just so much in history that we don't learn about, isn't it? Yeah, we did the slave trade in history, but it very much felt like then it ended and all the bad times are over. Right, yeah, not true at all, actually. Yeah. Right. You know. The Imperial Core is not nearly as ashamed of the Imperial and colonial areas as we should be. Germany puts a lot of focus on the Third Reich era because we're ashamed of it. But our role in imperialism is discussed, but not nearly as much and not nearly presented as damning. I think, like, shame is not productive, right? For a couple of reasons, right? I think that we should be disgusted first with the past, right? But shame cannot be, like, born on the shoulders of children who weren't alive at the time of atrocities, right? Do you know what I mean? Because I think that kind of thing leads to, like, the climate in Germany now where you can't voice any criticism of Israel, right? And you can't voice support for Palestinians in Germany. It's seen as, like, a terrorist idea, even in some anti-fascist groups, right? So, like, where shame may be productive, I think, definitely in terms of, like, you know, recognizing that atrocities were committed and the circumstances which led to that. But then I think an overbearing focus on shame, I don't think it gets anybody anywhere. You know, like, this is the most annoying thing. Like I'm lucky, I guess, because I'm a cis white guy and I'm bisexual, right? And I don't really have, like, I don't really ever have, like, people coming up to me going, like, oh, you know, Section 28, that was so bad. I can't believe that, like, we just put up with that. It was so bad. If someone started doing that, I would just be like, yo, shut up, man. Stop, like, being ashamed of the past and, like, you know, talk about now, like, trans rights and shit like that. That's what I would be like, shut up. You know, it would annoy me. And I think that's how most people think when, like, you know, liberals sit there and they go, oh my God, I can't believe, oh, slavery, can you believe that? There's like a scene in Twin Peaks where, so one of the cops in Twin Peaks is a Native American guy, and someone, like, a white girl comes in and she starts going, like, oh my God, and you're native, and I can't believe, oh, you must hate white people for what they did, and blah, 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 blah. And he just says, some of my best friends are white. You know? And it's like, yeah, you know, a native person is not going to want to hear, like, endless apologies from, like, crying liberals who had nothing to do with it, saying, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, talk about how native people are oppressed now. Talk about how racism still affects native people to this day. Like, you know what I mean? Do something about it. Don't sit there crying about it, you know? Shame isn't it? Like Parenti said, our shame is not ours, not the people's. It's the ruling class's shame. Right, exactly. That's what it is. It is, you know?
Afrikaans. Afrikaans forms a bridge between the large, shining West and magical Africa, and what great things may come from their union. But what
yeah,
we
the
must
Congo
never
and
forget
shit,
is
Vord,
that
yeah,
this change
from
of
Belgium,
country
yeah,
and
so bad.
landscape sharpened, kneaded, and knitted this newly becoming language, and so Afrikaans became able to speak out from this new land. Our task lies in the use that we make and will make of this gleaming vehicle, and dit is ons errands, a solemn vow. The Broederbond was first conceived as Young South Africa in 1918 when it was just 37 Boer guys who all went to church together, sharing cultural and political objectives. It's clear in their cultural imagery and celebrations that the enslaved and indigenous identity inherent to Afrikaans is purposefully hidden, discarded, or subordinated. The same thing that happened to the earliest synthesizers of African, Asian, and European
Wees Sturk. Dutch is just like a made-up language, man. Wait, actually, Afrikaans is like a second made-up language, isn't it? Because it's like Dutch African or something, right? Am I right in thinking that? Like, that's what they're talking about. Like, this is what this person's talking about. Like, like they came up with like a new language that's basically like a different type of Dutch. And they said that like the Dutch that black people tried to speak, like indigenous black people, were like, it was quote unquote kitchen Dutch, right? Afrikaans is basically just Dutch, not gonna lie. That's what I mean. It's such like a, all languages are made up, but most language, yeah. Listen, I'm well aware that most languages are made up, but not every language. In fact, there's only one language that was made up when the people who decided to speak that language were smoking weed. So much weed. Oh my God. The entire country is made of weed. Made up language.
The standardization of Afrikaans by whites played a decisive role in the discourse of power during apartheid through its exclusion of the variants spoken by black
Esperanto
speakers. Andries Petrus Treurnig.
No, dude, they were smoking crack when they tried to make Esperanto. Oh, I don't know, were they? Like, because like I think like Esperanto is like a smart idea, I thought, to be honest. Because like, but then again, you know, white supremacy quashed it, right? That's my sort of take on Esperanto. Like, I don't know much about it, but it seems like people who wanted to make English the most spoke language on the earth were actively like, you know, doing that from a white supremacist narrative, right? Oh, the USA and the UK speak English, so everyone should speak English because we're the best, and you know, white supremacy should rule, right? You know, because Esperanto was like a smart idea for like, it's a language that everybody could just learn and we all speak it together. Smart. I don't know about you, but I don't come up with languages on crack. Jojo, you should change your name to Jojo the Pedant this week. Just for this week. Jojo the Pedant. That's it, because that's what you're doing in my chat today. Jojo woke up today and said, I'm going to go into DJ Muel's stream and cause violence. And you know, that's her right, to be honest, as a chatter. As a chatter.
Born in 1921,
chatter's rights,
was a
you know?
born member and leader. Once the National Party came into government in...
Yeah, like I can't... Yeah, because like, here's the thing, yeah? Like, Esperanto was written in like European alphabet, right? It wasn't given its own set of symbols or anything like that, which could have been neat, you know? And that would like appeal to people who don't necessarily like, you know, want to write things down in whatever. you know, in European alphabet shit. I've been sick for 2 weeks. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Jojo. I don't know if, yeah, not fair. Not fair. Listen, you be nice to yourself, and I'll try and be as nice to you as I can. Yeah, because, like, if you wanted a language that everybody would speak all around the world, you would have to take into consideration, you know, the way in which it's, you know, sort of given to write, right? You know what I mean? Jojo the Recovered. That's what. That's your new name, yeah.
1948, English-speaking bureaucrats, soldiers and other personnel were sidelined and key posts increasingly filled by Broederbond members. An economic, socio-political and administrative network of influence flourished under the guidance of the inner sanctum, touching every corner of the country and surrounding territory.
The grammar and vocabulary too, I'm with you.
Stellenbosch, a political philosophy doctorate from Cape Town, and also served the Dutch Reformed community in various congregations. His efforts to rearrange demographics and culture like those who came before him inspired the disastrous Bantu education policy when he served as deputy minister after his election into parliament in 1971. In 1974, when he was supposedly chairman of the Broederbond, he decided schools in black areas should use the English Afrikaans instruction model for teaching math, arithmetic, and social studies, eliminating instruction in native languages and imposing a language that had been used to bark orders and dehumanize onto the youth. This, I believe,
like this is the same shit that they did to Native Americans. It's like colonialism 101, like invade, genocide, and then remove people's native history. It's just so insidious.
Fulfilled Verwoerd's vision for the black population, that our literacy need only enable the performance.
Bro, are you kidding? Fight for your right to be white in, like, you know, fucking apartheid South Africa. Are you taking the piss? Are you taking the piss?
Of so-called unskilled work, and bonus could distort history to justify white supremacist values while suppressing resistance and liberation.
Oh, we were just talking about that.
The Decree of 1974 triggered the Soweto student riots of 1976.
Still doing this stuff in Hawaii, yeah, right.
An entire generation of young black South Africans against the language with a strong suspicion of its speakers. In fact, I don't think we've fully come to terms with the plethora of knocks against black people's pursuit of prosperity from the National Party. When I think about just how many people were taught under that system and ended up thinking education or even social mobility is or was Lani, a waste of time that could be foregone if all there is to learn is the ingratiation of oneself towards colonizers. Treurnig never took any responsibility for that or
was
for
sitting
his
on
part
bricks in that
regime,
school,
the continuation of which he supported strongly. When the next National Party president was making
I turned up this video and now I feel like it's too loud. This goes way beyond the loss of a language. My linguist heart always aches whenever I hear about languages systematically eradicated like this. Yeah, it's fucked. It's so fucked.
Liberal changes. Afrikaners had already achieved domination at this point, but their sovereignty was under threat in the 1980s as changes in apartheid legislation and dogma quickened. In 1982, he and 22 other MPs left the party to form the Conservative Party that Treurnig would lead. They became the official opposition in 1987, putting up many campaigns against power sharing. When the referendum popped up in 1992, they got just over 500,000 votes against, not enough to stop the winds of change. However, Afrikaner nationalism was by then embedded in state machinery, macroeconomic policy, and South African society at large. Willing or not, most observed the civic religion. Meanwhile, those at the helm busied themselves with preparation for liberal democracy and attempts to re-enter international trade and diplomacy. The Broederbond upheld Afrikaner traditions dating
it's just absolutely insane that we don't talk about South Africa more often. Like, you know, holy fucking shit. Like, I know this kind of stuff was still was like peddled in the 1980s and the 1970s in the UK, right? I know about that shit, but like the fact that this was like a colony, you know, it's just good fucking God, just absolutely disgusting. Hey, Rebel Firestorm, how you doing? Welcome in.
National trade and diplomacy. The Broederbond upheld Afrikaner traditions dating back to the first days of settlement, colored by a nostalgia.
Oh, I know
for
most
the
Dutch people are
European way
ashamed as
and
shit about
cemented
this.
into the landscape and the memories of those it displaced. Trekker and tall monuments, among others, received little criticism.
Like, imagine how it must feel to see these fucking nerds come here in their silly little waistcoats, their stupid fucking dresses, doing their funny little stupid high as shit on weed clog dance, right? On your fucking native ground. Like, oh my God. Jesus fucking wept. These stupid little fucking, not even cool gnome people, just like stupid little fucking gnome pricks dancing around like, like that's how they talk, you know, like, sorry, I'm done.
Those it displaced. Trekker and tall monuments, among others, received little critical engagement after 94, so the folk can continue to make their sacred observances undisturbed, no doubt more inspiration for the myth of fated inheritance of the fatherland.
I didn't even mean for that. I didn't even mean for that to come out. It just came out.
In the previous section focusing on history, language and culture, I called Afrikaner nationalism the civic religion of the Boers. This construction was conceptualized at length by Jean-Jacques Rousseau as a public profession of faith that aims to inculcate political values and that prescribes dogma, rites and rituals for citizens, the object being sociability and a love of public duty or patriotism. The success
That's right,
of civic
Jojo.
religion, according to Rousseau,
Fervently
unites religious
anti-swamp
values with
German.
the execution of secular law. When the Boers gained control of state machinery in the 20th century, they could imbue it with civic virtues carried down from their slave-holding settler predecessors, most importantly, that of separatism. Civic religion might sound benign when understood ideologically, but Afrikaner nationalism is but one example of how often it's actually violently destructive.
Like, a civic religion would be good, I imagine, from what the streamer is saying, if it was anti-fascist, communist, anarchist in nature, right? You know, progressive, nice, liberal based. But, you know, a civic religion implies that it's like, wait, why anti-swamp? No, not anti-swamp, anti-swamp German. That's what the Dutch are affectionately known as, isn't it? Swamp Germans. Because that's what they are. And the swamp is made of weed. Anyway, we're just having a little joke at the expense of the Dutch. That's all. Don't worry about it. Listen, look, you know, we're doing a video on South Africa. That's why we're doing this. I love the Dutchies in my chat, right? I love them. I love all of you. You're all great. It's obviously just a joke in good nature, in the same way that you would joke about a Brit enjoying fish and chips or unseasoned beans on toast, right? Shit like that. Kerry, how you doing? Welcome in. Welcome in.
Said differently, the earliest iterations of what would become the Republic of South Africa tells
Chat,
me...
I'm drinking so much water. I gotta go for a wee. I'll be back in a tick. Okay. All right, we're back.
That the Boers favoured republicanism because, to them, representation by suitable white candidates in any forum could deliver white supremacy, and adherence to this could guarantee their freedom above that of any other. Civic virtue is vital in republicanism, defined as the dedication of citizens to the common welfare of their community or country, maybe even at the cost of their individual
I've got to be up so
interests.
early tomorrow. I hate
It's important to
it.
note that at the inception of the republic,
I've got to be
the
up at
community
7,
were only
maybe
white
6:30.
settlers, so that every man entrusted with the executive authority over the state since 1961 wielded, and possibly still does, that of the first commander of the colony, who desperately petitioned his government for slave labor, and that of the governor generals who operated for empire.
I'm going London, Kiri,
The
with
role
the
came
union.
to be state president when this next guy came into
Too
the
early.
picture to avail broad executive powers to those responsible for the inculcation of Afrikaner nationalist civic religion in constitutional and administrative contexts. Born on a farm in the fiercely nationalist Orange Free State in 1916, Pieter Willem Botha had a real-life bitter einde for a father, and his mother was a victim of Kitchener's concentration camps. He would later be described as an aggressive bully with a strong opposition to black majority rule and the English specifically, probably normal for someone socialized into a Boer republic. In the period he entered and dropped out of university to become a National Party political organizer, there was a strong push for independence from Britain, the creation of a new flag, and the promulgation of Afrikaans, the
Okay, I just saw. Hang on, I'm just like. I just saw like a. Someone was asking me for a link to the Discord, and I went in the Discord. I went all the way in the Discord chat, and I saw this, which I just thought was very funny. This is a good meme. If you don't think sex work is work, you're probably just not good at sex. Later incels. Very funny, very good. Seen a lot of good, you know, a lot of good memes popping off in the Discord recently. Proud of you all. It's tea, isn't it? It is a bit of tea. Travel days are the worst, and I like traveling, just hate getting up for it. Traveling's fine once you're out there, innit? Once you're out there and you're on the coach, or you're on the plane, or you're on the boat, or whatever, it's fine. You can just like relax, and it's all good. You put your headphones on, you know, maybe play your Nintendo Switch, which I'll probably be doing. You know, that's fine. But like, yeah, the getting up and like the stress of leaving the house, especially when you've got OCD, like I have to leave the house like 10 minutes early every time, because I'm like, how many times am I going to check and see if I've locked the door? You know, just absurd, really. So yeah, it's stressful.
true version codified by the Genootskap as an official national language parallel to English. Furthermore, white laborers benefited from job reservation to eradicate white poverty in urban areas, while the black population had obviously extremely limited access to the market, going into urban areas for poorly paid manual labor. As Minister for Community Affairs, Botha had the following to say: "I'm one of those who believe there is no permanent home for even a section of the Bantu in the white area of South Africa, and the destiny of South Africa depends upon this essential point. If the principle of permanent residence for the black man in the area of the white is accepted, then it is the beginning of the end of civilization as we know it in this country. And I am sick and tired of the parrot cry of apartheid. I've said many times the word apartheid means good neighborliness. In tandem with language appropriation, Afrikaner nationalists created ethnic states for the black population."
I saw a tip to say out loud when you're doing stuff like turning off the oven, locking doors. It makes it stick more in your mind. Yeah, I mean, you know, I do that already. It doesn't. it like doesn't. The only way that you can... This is the only thing that's ever worked for me. Maybe that's going to work for some people, but it doesn't work for me. Like I've got to the stage where I've tried to like flip it in my head and be like, okay, of course it's off. Of course it's off. You turned it off before. You can remember when you turned it off. Of course it's off, but it doesn't stop. What happens with OCD, yeah? Try and explain it to you the best I can. What happens with OCD is that your brain gets addicted to the feeling that it gets when it checks something, because when you've checked that it's fine, you get like a little burst of something like dopamine or whatever, right? And you get addicted to it. But then as soon as you move away from it, you're like, the unsure anxiety stems from deep set anxiety as well, right? So for me, I even got to the stage where I was turning the key in my door as far to the right as I possibly could, like hurting my hand when I was doing it, like actually self-harming when I was doing it, to remember that I've definitely locked it, so that when I'm walking down the stairs of my apartment, I don't fucking like my apartment block. I don't like go, oh, did I lock the door? Because I could go, yeah, my hand hurts, but it doesn't fucking help. The only thing that like helped me is exposure therapy. That's the only thing that's helped me. And that is basically thinking, okay, when do I check my door the most? When do I do it the most? I do it the most when I'm going traveling somewhere, but I rarely get to travel because I don't have any money. Do you know what I mean? So that doesn't kind of work. So I think like, okay, well, maybe if I go and stay at my partner's, I do check it quite a lot then. So what I do is I try and use those opportunities to be like, okay, I'm not going to check it. I'm definitely not going to check it, and like mentally prepare myself to not check it and go, right, okay, just look at it once. You've locked it. Cool. Done. And turn around and just go. And just like, you have to just separate yourself from it. You have to just, it's, you know what OCD is a lot of the time? It's learning to let go of something. People who develop OCD, you know, a lot of the time are people who cannot let go of stuff due to anxiety, due to, past trauma and stuff like that. And you want to be in control of things because then you can make sure that everything's fine. It's the fear of a lack of control from anxiety that then develops and progresses into OCD, right? And then once you have that, it's so deep set that it's like you have to really go back to the fundamental thing that made you like that. And it's that, for me, it's that fear of letting go. It's that fear of not being in control of a situation. It's that fear of like suddenly everything in the world dissolving in front of me, right? Because in reality, if something like that does happen, that sucks. But, you know, what have I lost? I've lost material stuff. I've lost material possessions. I haven't lost a life. I haven't lost well, sometimes I do get really scared about like other people, but I have to remind myself that, you know, they have their own agency and stuff like that, and they're fine. But it's like, because there's one thing in controlling your own environment and a fucking another thing entirely in trying to control what another person does. So, you know, we don't do that. But yeah, it's like, you know, you have to say to yourself like, okay, it's fine. I'm letting go. Whatever will happen, will happen. That kind of shit, right? Yeah, fuck the fear of losing control. Yeah, it's annoying as shit, you know? It's like, whatever. Like, imagine thinking that you have some kind of control over this existence in general. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, whatever. Let's crack on.
Coining the term Bantu.
Long story short, Awesomeo, I appreciate it. I appreciate the tip, but I'm way ahead of you.
Shortly after the establishment of Pakistan or Hindustan in 1947. Chief architect Verwoerd argued that these were our original homes, allocating up to 13% of the land for our occupation, creating a ruling black elite to provide administration on behalf of white South Africa, and incepted the separate development plan in the interest of sovereignty for the black population. Actually, this
Ludo,
was a maneuver to
don't even get me started on OCD and ADHD. Yeah. Love legitimately forgetting that I've checked something 50 times because I have ADHD. You know, that's great. I love that. I love that for me. I love that for everybody around me.
divert most of the valuable resources away from us by claiming that demographically South Africa was majority white. Nelson Mandela said about the Bantustan, the hybrid word is in many ways misleading. It relates to the partitioning of India after the reluctant departure of the British. Partition was submitted to and approved by both parties. The government's plans do not envisage the partitioning of this country into separate self-governing states. They do not envision equal rights or any rights at all for Africans outside the reserves. The term is therefore a misnomer and merely tends to help the nationalists perpetrate a fraud. Afrikaans was and is generally associated with its white speakers, and its use to dominate, discriminate, and oppress cannot be disputed, as it was the apartheid government's medium of law enforcement and criminalization of contact between different races in matters of housing, sexual relations, schooling, and property ownership. Its black and indigenous component is denied in Afrikaner nationalism, but most speakers of Afrikaans are in fact black and colored. Extensive scholarship substantiates the fact that if the Khoisan and especially the slaves were not forced to learn or speak Dutch, then the Afrikaans language would not really have developed. It first developed as a contact language and was molded away from its origins. Racial categorization flowing from the standardization of Afrikaans to mark whiteness or civility was a similar endeavor to rid black people of their connections in history, language, and cultural values. The Bantustans were also part of the National Party's vision of a federalist Southern African region for which Botha advocated strongly in the form of constitutional reforms. Along with the establishment of 20 such territories, his government initiated the tricameral parliament. In 1984, a white-only majority approved the reforms, which saw the abolition of the ceremonial prime ministerial post for the aforementioned state president, which was head of state, government, and the military, answerable to national parliament, but able to influence the laws of the republic directly as majority party leader.
Right.
This meant political and economic power could stay firmly in the hands of a white minority with a vested interest in keeping black people poor and unrepresented. The tricameral parliament was made up of the whites-only Volksraad, the already existing Westminster-style House of Assembly, the colored House of Representatives, and Indian House of Delegates. Good old divide and conquer, not neighborliness. The two latter chambers had no realistic options for outvoting the white on issues like education, social welfare, housing, and recreation, as it held sway over broader matters like commerce, defense, foreign policy, law and order. The National Party government insisted that population figures inform the constitution of the tricameral parliament, but with a 178-seat Volksraad and 130 for the other two combined, that was clearly a lie, to say nothing of the omission of Africans. The Bantustans and tricameral parliament achieved much separation but propelled almost no development. The four nominally independent Bantustans couldn't realistically govern without the assistance of white South Africa, which solely considered them sovereign, even building embassies in them. These were time, money, and resource drains kept alive by Botha, who knew that sanctions and divestment would throttle his economy. He frequently courted approval by relaxing some aspects of apartheid, but remained intolerant of criticism towards his ideology. His control extended to colonial neighbors Namibia, then Southwest Africa, Zimbabwe, then Rhodesia, Angola, Mozambique, and Botswana. During the 14 years he served as defense minister, the South African Defense Force took up almost 20% of the national budget, whereas it was at 1.3% in 1968. He spent exorbitantly on state security services, bombing raids to stop communism in Angola and Mozambique.
Damn. Fucking damn. They did not want communism.
Squads and mercenaries to quell anti-apartheid activists in Europe, assassinations, kidnappings, and torture wherever the ANC sought refuge. It's almost like he was trying to destroy South Africa before the international pressure broke him. The perils of bitter anger mentality. His government detained thousands of people without a fair trial, censored media, and rubbished power sharing with a black liberation movement. He refused to release Mandela after baiting them with an opportunity for negotiation, and when his stubbornness almost provoked civil war, he imposed stricter security measures.
So, there was like a whole thing in what was known as Rhodesia, which is basically Zimbabwe. And they had like a Zimbabwean War of Independence. And basically like there was like a lot of communists. This is the whole fucking thing. It's like you look at here, it's like, you know, Cold War politics. Cold War politics played into the conflict. I hate the way that it's like phrased like that, because it's like, this isn't Cold War politics. This is, you know, this is people struggling for independence. You know what I mean? The fact that like the Soviet Union supported Zipra and China supported Zanla, you know, they're both fighting the colonialist, imperialist, capitalist forces, right? You know, Cuba and Mozambique offered direct military help to the Patriotic Front, but the leaders declined, and foreign contribution included military officials from North Korea, who taught Zimbabwean militants to use explosives in camps in an arms camp near Pyongyang, based North Korea, not gonna lie. 12,000 Zanla guerrillas were training in Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Libya, while 9,500 of its 30,500 excellent cadres operated in Rhodesia. Fucking hell. Mental. South Africa. Here's what I was Googling here. South Africa clandestinely gave material and military support to the Rhodesian government. Of course it did. That's what I was Googling there. So yeah, there you go. I was wondering if... you know, they had a sort of, you know, an involvement with that, and they did. They did. I was right.
Dropping the country into a state of emergency that depleted the value of the rand. It was his own ill health that caused Botha to step down as leader of the National Party, but when he realized they planned to replace him with someone much less passionate about enforcing apartheid the old way, he refused to step down as head of state. The man was adamant about his brutality and the subjugation of the black population of the region. Newer, liberal factions of the party sought out pacification through granting political rights, while maintaining unequal economic redistribution. Thus, some pertinent Afrikaner nationalist virtue could be maintained. The National Party's long-term goal with apartheid was the creation of a confederation of ethnic nation-states governed by racially segregated joint institutions that would ultimately monitor threats against white minority rule.
Jesus, I'm just reading more about this and like the Kissinger shit that was involved, like with Robert Mugabe. And it's like so fucked. Like talking about like hold up. I don't know about any of this shit. I didn't know about any of this shit. In 1975, President Gerald Ford and Secretary of State Kissinger intently focused on Southern Africa and threatened to open up a new front in the Cold War in the mineral-rich region. Just 1 year earlier, a left-wing coup in Portugal had spurred the demise of its colonial domination of Mozambique, where an indigenous Marxist group rapidly gained power. Almost concurrently, an insurgent group in Angola quickly expanded its influence with significant Soviet military aid, which would ultimately include some 20,000 Cuban combat troops. Through Washington's Cold War lens, two important coastal nations in Southern Africa, Angola on the west coast and Mozambique on the east, quickly falling under Soviet and Cuban influence. A Soviet-sponsored Cuban alliance with African Marxists alarmed not only Kissinger and Ford, but also leaders of newly decolonized nations in Southern Africa, Tanzania, Zambia, and the white regimes of Rhodesia and South Africa, to name a few. Even if the prime targets of such guerrilla groups were white minority-ruled regimes, their spread to neighboring countries could destabilize and even overthrow such fragile host governments. U.S. inaction could cede the authority over this mineral-rich region. To the Soviets, suggesting a post-Vietnam loss of national will. I think the whole shtick here is that like Kissinger sponsored Mugabe after like they got independence, and then Robert Mugabe was like a piece of shit to the Zimbabwean people for a long, long time. Fucking hell, mental. Apartheid South Africa to Israel had very close ties to. Oh yeah, I believe that. I believe that for sure. Kissinger, the Forrest Gump of war crimes. What? I don't know how you're like framing that. Like he just stumbled into all these war crimes and he didn't actively, have any agency over what he was doing or something. I don't know.
In the 1990s,
Hey, Muel, how you doing?
Its original form was in decline, and separate development gave way to the era of so-called power sharing. This reset was a continuation of the Afrikaner nationalist belief in the divine right of the folk to be in South Africa to rule, whereas a more honest approach to a reset would have insisted on some punitive response against human rights.
He just shows
abuses.
up in all of them,
this
right?
reset was also
course.
the basis of South Africa's overly politically correct attitude towards institutionalized
Hey, Underpig, how's it
racism
going?
and the insistence on incorporating the good parts from the past.
Oh, hey, Prince, how's it going?
Pulling together as a nation. Townships are an easily recognizable feature on the South African landscape, the most obvious remnant of
Muel.
apartheid doctrine, that is, separate development. These were core elements of apartheid-era spatial planning, separated from the town proper by some buffer that could provide supervisory measures for
If you are just joining us, we're watching a video from Third World Miss Explores. She's a cool YouTuber that doesn't really have a lot of subscribers or anything like that, and you should all go and subscribe, show her some love. We're watching a video called Who Messed Up South Africa and How, and it's all about the colonialist nature of the Dutch Afrikaners, who basically were like Nazis, and I don't think it's spoken about enough about how similar they are to Nazis, and they were definitely just Nazis, or at least the Nazis stole a lot of imagery and iconography from them, and used it themselves when doing the Nazi shit. So yeah, important video. Please watch it in a muted tab alongside the stream, or watch it later when you can pay more attention and you don't hear a white guy just sort of like talking all over it, because that's a very important contribution, isn't it, to YouTube videos. You have to have a white guy streamer just talking all over it, and then that's how a video is enjoyed. But please give her a like, give her a subscribe, and give her a comment. All that stuff helps our leftist video essay comrades.
Commuters entering their work zone and scaring non-whites away. These were not built residential environments, but rather emerged as dormitory settlements for migrant workers. However, from
Right, adorable, right.
the state began building these huge concentration camps with rudimentary infrastructure and very little in the way of recreation, industry, or green spaces under the Group Areas Act, stipulating separation of residential areas by race. The buffer was necessary to make race mixing even more difficult, expensive, and a greater offense. The National Party made it so that white-controlled city centers could only be accessed by a single road or railway line that could easily be blocked during periods of unrest. So, in the 1980s, about 40% of the black population was stuck poor and unemployed in the homelands, while yet more were trapped in the soul-crushing enclosure that is township life, commuting daily into a white area to be dehumanized and debased while you try to make a living. To start off this discussion on the lasting effects of Afrikaner nationalism where segregationist policies rooted in nationalism are concerned, it's interesting to note that some 20th century white social scientists wrote in support of separate development. One Arthur Keppel-Jones believed that devolution into federalist ethnic nation-states would result in harmonious cooperation among South Africa's polarized groups. A declaration of faith of this approach was signed in 1974, and a progressive set in the halls of Parliament advocated for a federal constitution for power sharing in the interest of empowering black South Africans since 1977, and has now become a conservative set representing neoliberal interests. An operative of the National Party, Botha's personal doctor Wouter Basson, showed just how far Afrikaner nationalists were willing
that
to
sounds
go
cool,
to
Prince.
make the black population vulnerable in this power-sharing arrangement by using townships to target and destroy black lives and communities. These massive tracts of land, essentially holding areas for an increasingly powerless black population without a state, were not well observed by mainstream social studies of white South Africa, nor the media, which was a key instrument of apartheid propaganda and
I'm sorry to hear you've had a rough few days though, Prince.
In the 60s, they came to the attention of international critics when large-scale forced removals came to the attention of the broader public. But until the Soweto riots in 1976, there were no insights into the socio-economic indicators of poverty, unemployment, and violence. Townships were a terra incognita to white South Africans, discussed only in terms of the general affairs of cost effectiveness and infrastructure as they occurred to national government. On the local level, individual blacks living in the townships posed a threat to white metropoles all across the territory due to the receding boundaries between black and white. Basson, already well acquainted with the corridors of power, was recruited as head of Project Coast, a biological and chemical weapons program targeting civilians and activists in townships perceived to pose a threat to the regime, through which a deep paranoia and flourishing...
Cool, I love that. I love that they just did chemical warfare. Like, you just don't hear about any of this shit, you know what I mean?
Bunker mentality spread. Botha's Surgeon General appointed him to form a special unit of the South African Military Health Service, 7 Medical Battalion Group, operating as Project Coast, to collect information about chemical and biological warfare capabilities in other countries. He hired about 200 researchers from around the world and controlled annual funds close to $10 million, in violation of an international agreement. In order to distance Project Coast from the state, 4 more front companies were established to enable procurement of funds and chemicals. The researchers were unaware that they were working on smart poisons that supposedly only worked on black people, that the organization they worked for had enough cholera and anthrax in storage to start an epidemic by dispersing them into townships via water supplies. Basson is said to have been Botha.
This is like, again, the kind of shit that like really fucks me off. Not just this in general, not just like fascism in general, right? You know what I mean? White supremacist fascism and shit like that. But like genuinely, like, you know, all the shit that you would hear about like in lockdown about it being COVID being a Chinese virus and they like unleashed the virus upon the world. It's all just projection, isn't it? It's all just projection. Like, this is the Imperial Core. These are the kind of things that the Imperial Core does. You know, keep fucking viruses in like, you know, in bulk and then get ready to just like loose them. You know? Yeah, also insane that they tried to make racist poison. Like, how are you gonna like tell, like, you know, how are you gonna tell chemicals, molecules, atoms, compounds, all this kind of stuff to like specifically target someone based on how much melanin is in their body, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, how are you doing that? Like, what is that possible? Like, I don't think that's possible. You know, it's so fucking dumb. Yeah, with the right, every accusation is a confession, right? They believe their own lies about eugenics. Right, of course. Yeah. Of course they were dehumanizing black people. Yeah, of course. They were listening to their own rhetoric too hard. Like, there's no way that you can make a poison that like targets someone of a certain race. It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
And the regime's man of choice for attacks against the anti-apartheid.
Like, again, it's not even race. It's like this is a thing that like we really have to like get out of our lexicon. We have to start like, you know, just talking about if we're gonna differentiate at all. Like, it's like people who have melanin or don't have that much of it or don't have any of it. You know what I mean? It's like it's not even like a differentiation in race. It's just, we're all the same. We're literally just humans in it. Like, it's just so fucking annoying. Like,
movement, SWAPO, and protesters. He would oversee the modification of everyday objects to deliver lethal doses of poison, sparing the more dangerous chemicals for crowd control. He did his heinous work without interference and a massive budget, traveling to set up even more front companies and operations, which led to his experimentation with non-lethal chemicals for social engineering, allegedly orchestrating the sale of large amounts of ecstasy and mandrax into communities with strong anti-apartheid movements, i.e. the townships. When the National Party got that new leadership in Project Coast was scrapped in the 90s, the researchers under Basson said they believed they had been working on concoctions of narcotics-laced tear gas. He was implicated in a joint investigation by the United Nations, United States, and United Kingdom that identified a nerve agent used against Frelimo operatives near the South African border in 1992, some of whom died or were hospitalized following exposure to the chemical agent. That some Project Coast privatized front companies from which Basson profited were involved in manufacturing or supplying. This and his involvement with the recreational drug trade led to his eventual criminal trials long after the regime had been abolished. When called before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, he declined to reveal any of the work he did for the apartheid regime or amnesty, and the commission found that the South African Defence Force had probably used lethal toxins against civilians and ANC activists with Basson's help. In 1997, government agencies found him with more than 1,000 ecstasy pills and papers for Project Coast, leading to his being compelled to testify at the commission. They decided he should be prosecuted criminally, and 67 charges against him were leveled, including murder, conspiracy to commit murder, drug possession and trafficking, fraud, embezzlement, money laundering, and theft in 1999. After 18 months, the judge reduced the number of charges, dismissing some important ones due to manipulable jurisdiction issues. In 2002, the judge dismissed the test.
Manipulable jurisdiction issues. So, what, like, he didn't have the jurisdiction over this guy? Why? So why was he allowed to charge him in the first place? Just sounds so ridiculous. Just sounds so fucking ridiculous.
Testimony of nearly 200 witnesses against Basson as a fragmented and confusing case by the state. How did Basson do in South Africa?
Insane.
Well, if the law is anything to go by, then not at all. After all, the work he did was paid for and protected by the state until it wasn't anymore. But his foray into recreational drugs as chemical and biological weapons unleashed new levels of violence against the population that made it clear that townships, reservations, and homelands were not designed to grant black and indigenous people sovereignty.
No.
They were built first.
Just imagine, like, every single fucking day you got these tanks rolling around your fucking neighborhood. You know what I mean? Every single fucking day. It's just fucked. It's just so fucked.
To keep us out, and then when need be, to cage us in. Black South Africa had been, in a word, rendered incoherent by generations of land theft, cultural assimilation, and geographic segregation and marginalization, resulting in settlements characterized by poverty and mounting tensions about inequality. Another staunch Boer and Afrikaner nationalist, Eugene Terblanche, also
I seriously cannot get over the Nazi iconography of these nerds. Like, seriously. I can't get over it. Like, that's just a swastika, but a bit different. That's all that is. You know what I mean? Like, fucking hell.
Had a calling to orchestrate violent repression of black and anti-apartheid communities, going so far as to threaten civil war in the event leaders of the Afrikaner nationalist movement were prepared to broker power with Africans. Born in 1941, Terblanche grew up in the 50s when reverence for Boer War commanders like Paul Kruger and General De La Rey would have been taught as a history of heroes in any white public school.
You seen that same symbol be used by neo-Nazis? Yeah, of course.
At one of many such institutions
I believe it.
that glorified all aspects of Boer history. Later in his life, he became known for his
It's, you know, again, it's like it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer why white supremacists say all the time that, oh my God, what's going on in South Africa now is so bad. Like, whites are just, they're repressed. They're like, black people are racist to whites in South Africa, and it's like, no, they like stopped apartheid, bro. That's what happened, actually. And like, you know, you couldn't even remotely call anything that happens to white people in South Africa now like racism. Like, you just couldn't. Like, this doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, fucking hell, man. The romanticism of riding on horseback is also sometimes used by them. I mean, I don't know what that's got to do with anything, to be honest. Cosplaying as Germans that were cosplaying as Romans, it's dorks and nerds all the way down. Yeah, defo. A triskelion, an ancient symbol of Indo-European cultures, but especially Celts and Germanics. Of course, yeah, of course. Of course the Nazis love it, of course.
Fanatical eagerness to pursue an idyllic pastoral life in the Ventersdorp countryside and enacting violence on blacks who spoiled the vision in his vicinity. In short, Terre Blanche saw the black population as subhuman and attempts to bring them into leadership as a bastardization of the principles that had birthed first the Boer and then the Republic of South Africa. That is, the supremacy of white Afrikaners decided at the Battle of Blood River by the sheer volumes of African blood spilled to secure land. For example, he quit his job in the South African police because President B.J. Vorster's policies were too liberal for his young heart. Vorster, with the massive military spending against the ANC, who had often tortured civilians and activists, murdering them when they refused to spy for the state. The police service wasn't giving Terre Blanche the kinds of opportunity for civic participation he was after, and his disillusionment resulted in the formation of the Afrikaner Weerstandbeweging in 1973, a Nazi-adjacent right-wing resistance like the Osewa Brandwag. The AVB was...
so these guys were... I mean, it's kind of dumb to say, these guys were openly fascist, because the Broeder... what was it that they were called? The Broederbund. They were, like, openly fascist anyway, right? Do you know what I mean? But like these guys didn't care that their shit looked neo-Nazi. They were actively trying to look neo-Nazi. So okay, that's kind of making more sense to me now.
Blanche's strong belief in the Blood River myth, somewhat of a raison d'etre to white Afrikaners, but initially ridiculed as a right-wing religious oddity by the new liberal elite of the 1980s that was attracted to larger markets in which to build white wealth as opposed to conservative political dogma of separation that slimmed profit margins. He certainly presented his organization as an alternative to the National Party and Conservative Party, but it was never intended to be the sort that would represent constituents in national parliament. No, the AVB were mainly concerned with assaulting anti-apartheid activists, destabilizing attempts at democracy, gaining public notoriety once by tarring and feathering a history professor who had denounced the observance of a remembrance for the Battle of Blood River as a secular event with no real history behind it. Terre Blanche apologized but added it was important to consider just how deeply the professor's views had offended him as a Christian and patriot. He didn't really care who was in charge as long as he could be racist with impunity like he'd done all his life. He lived in Ventersdorp most of his life and is said to have run the small town like his own personal property in the years following the beginning of the AVB, amassing a personal army from there and elsewhere of plus minus 70,000 at its heights, and they busied themselves with horseback parades, disruptive raids, and generally running interference. In 1991, after the release of Nelson Mandela, he found a reason to accuse President de Klerk of instigating a riot almost as soon as he knew the head of state was coming to Ventersdorp to arrange for peaceful cooperation from his support base. This little interaction is dubbed the Battle of Ventersdorp and claimed lives. In 1993, the AVB stormed the Kempton Park World Trade Center during the multilateral discussions about power sharing with military weapons, just to hand over a memo of grievances about said power sharing.
Wait, what? The guy drove a truck into the World Trade Center of like South Africa.
World Trade Center during the multilateral discussions about power sharing with military weapons.
Just to give him a memo. You fucking absolute penis. Like.
Just to hand over a memo of grievances about said power sharing. In 1994, he lied his way into Bophuthatswana, acting with the authority of a political or diplomatic official to open fire in public in a black area and to destabilize an independent Bantustan before it could benefit from apartheid abolition, only withdrawing when it devolved into anarchy. With the same mirth as possessed by the likes of Verwoerd and Foster, he was seen as little more
This act of terrorism could have been an email.
than a relic of the past by the time his antics got enough attention from the media. In March 2008, the RVB attempted a revival following encouragement from latent supporters who were chomping at the bit for someone to point out that the so-called rise in farm attacks, the electricity crisis that had been brewing for near on a decade, overwhelming crime and corruption could directly be linked to the fall and absence of white minority rule, predictable failures of a black liberation government, and the lack of a free Afrikaner republic within South Africa. Terre Blanche claimed that large tracts of Swati and Zululand had been purchased by Boers and vowed to take this case to the United Nations International Court of Justice. In his private life at Ventersdorp, he committed violence against many employees at his farm. The revival was on the heels of his incarceration in 2001 for assault and attempted murder, both of which he pled not guilty. He served 3 years for assaulting Paul Mothabi, who had testified against 2 white Ventersdorp boys in a burglary trial, following which an argument with Terre Blanche ensued and Mothabi was left mentally and physically affected following attacks sustained from Terre Blanche's dogs.
Oh, I think I heard about this fucking exact thing.
This is alleged to have taken place during one of his patrols of the Ventersdorp town area. Terre Blanche denied the allegations, claiming to have discovered Mothabi already beaten in the park. He was one of 3 white inmates at the facility in which he was incarcerated, and he claimed to have been born again there, supposedly tempering his views on race relations. The RVB colluded his redemption arc, claiming that the charges against him were fabricated by the black government and anti-conservative, i.e. anti-Afrikaner nationalist media. When his mutilated body was found in bed in 2010, the so-called black government by Jacob Zuma called for calm and responsible leadership. The Terre Blanche family got to host high-ranking officials for their grief and were
Jesus fucking Christ, just doing a Roman salute. Oh my God.
It got out that the primary suspect had announced to his fellow farm employees that he was now the new boss. Taking place concurrently with the rise of the ANC Youth League's Malema's Shoot the Boer era, his murder was supposed to kick off a racial civil war, but instead, the 2010s marked the emergence of white minority rights advocacy in earnest. Now, the referendum in 1992 was a vote on principles embodied in the Mahlabatini Declaration of Faith, an apartheid-era agreement between black and white political leaders on the need for a non-violent transition out of white minority rule, introducing such elements as peaceful multiracialism,
Jesus fucking Christ, what is this? Why is Queen Liz there? What is happening? What is happening, dude? So there's like this guy that we saw before who's like a anti-apartheid activist kind of guy. We've got Obama and fucking Queen Liz. I love Afrikaner genocide. Like this is white genocide. Like, if you're wondering what Afrikaners means here, it means white genocide. I love white genocide. Like, bro, like the crown, the royal family is the reason that South Africa exists, you fucking clowns. Jesus wept. Yes, we can kill Afrikaners. Like, what has Obama got to do with any of this, man? What's Obama got to do with any of this, dude? Like, and obviously, like, this guy here, anyway, I'm not saying that he has anything to do with anything. Like, he obviously wasn't advocating for, like, the murder of white people. Jesus Christ,
such
man.
Elements as peaceful multiracialism, consultation, a Bill of Rights, and federalism. Belabored leaders of the impoverished Bantustans stood behind Harry Schwartz and Mangosuthu Buthelez's proposals. Schwartz made the usual sojourn through a few parties through the decades, but stuck to the federal dream right up until his Progressive Federal Party represented liberal democratic opposition to the state's official conservative republicanism. But they lost this foothold in yet another whites-only election that left them questioning their participation on principle, and they dissolved and regrouped a number of times again to re-emerge first as the Democratic Party in 1989, now better known as the Democratic Alliance. In 1999, the Democratic Party was telling its base of former National Party voters, fight back, allowing them to gain significant ground in the mostly white Western Cape and conservative white enclaves in Gauteng. This momentum they used to gain ground with the new ideology of liberal democracy that had, in particular, no patience with the maladministration of the new black leadership. In less than a decade, most sides of white political representation were brimming with discontent, degrees varying from needs for spatial differentiation mechanisms to the kind of open hate shown by the likes of Terre Blanche. Bunker mentality had been fertile ground for white minority rights discourse rooted in the itch to yell, "Reverse apartheid!" If the past was marked by ethnic and racial discrimination in political, economic, and social life, then the post-apartheid present is characterized by deracialization and unrestricted spatial and social mobility for all, an ideal defined in the Constitution and the present-day human rights ethos, though not always present in reality. I want to recall that sentiment about a misjudgment of Afrikaner humiliation in the face of defeat. For the time being, it's kicking up dust in what Marianne Tam calls oxcart politics, a sort of B-grade epic featuring Zulus, Boers, a white homeland, a divine call to lead the nation, diamonds, old Italian mafia connections, and a thriving online diamond dealing business that may or may not be a Ponzi scheme. With former
What's he sniffing? What's going on? Is he sniffing a wad of cash? Is that what's happening? Is that what I'm looking at? What is this?
President Jacob Zuma of the ANC trying to stay out of
I thought it was like a sandwich for a minute. It was like, yeah, smell my sandwich, bro.
jail at all costs, including accepting money from professed racial segregationist Louis Liebenberg, who's on a caper to unseat the president and chief justice to pave the way for a new homeland. However, the continued use of ethnic association for economic and financial policy making and discrimination against immigrants based on country of origin have made it all too clear that some of the social reflexes learned in the apartheid era still exist, leaving me with the impression that the impulse to negotiate with our oppressors was incorrect. Laid a solid foundation for denialism and corporate corruption in government and in old money circles on one end of the spectrum, and the ravages of ceaseless inequality on the other. Why did apartheid last as long as it did? My long-winded answer is the subject of this series, but more capable researchers have a need to answer. Apartheid was not economically irrational for capitalism during the 20th century, but instead was mostly functional, until systemic protests and sanctions began to become debilitating. Skilled labor supplies became constrained, the limits of mainly white consumer markets were reached, and financial crisis hit hard in 1985. Today, that legacy continues.
The limits of mainly white consumer markets. I kind of love that phrase because it kind of just shows that, like, fascism just will never. It's already obvious. It's already obvious, right? You know, but like fascism just can't sustain itself. It's impossible. Do you know what I mean? It sucks that there was so much suffering before this was like discovered. And obviously that wasn't the main reason that you know, apartheid ended, but yeah, fucking hell, man.
Financial crisis hit hard in 1985. Today, that legacy continues in its most profound manifestations, including the still racially based labor market, migrancy, and the structured production of uneven development in nearly all social spheres. Systematic socio-economic corruption is largely due to a factor typically ignored in South African narratives until mid-2017, namely corporate economic crime. The representatives of the oppositional black majority, at least for a time, the ANC, find themselves at the center of hundreds of accusations of orchestrating corporate economic crimes in the halls of power, accusations that recently hauled the party through the commission into state capture, accused of generally colluding with white monopoly capital, but it is far less often said how this happens. Well, reminder, the national heads of important establishment families and leaders of important politico-economic economic organizations are the white monopoly capital in question, who captured the state from 1948 to 1994, got the post-apartheid national treasury to ensure lowered corporate taxes and increased capital gains for the already wealthy. Now, who would the already wealthy be in South Africa? Compounding racial divisions and inequality. Post-apartheid certainly becomes too optimistic a label when wealth accumulated under the same system is lightly taxed, and when those who wish to keep that same wealth undistributed demand prudent spending on public health, education, and social welfare. Have a leisurely read through for more details, and then go ahead and rewatch Who Messed Up South Africa episodes 1 through 3 to fill in all the grey, blurry areas you have in South African history. My journey into South Africa after apartheid begins after this long exploration of our past. So share my work with all of your friends. Please like the video and subscribe, and know that you can look forward to some more modern topics covered, but only if you show some love for how hard I worked in putting all of this together.
Yeah, you heard it, folks.
Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I mentioned in there that needs more clarity, and check out A Short History of Stellenbosch right after this if you haven't already, for a discussion of this old money and generational wealth that I think complements this video. And that's all for this one. Bye.
Do it yourself. And I think most South Africans are very lazy.
There you go, folks. I think that was obviously like a late episode. That was episode 3 of like a series, but I think that was pretty, you know, that was pretty comprehensive in terms of like who fucked up South Africa, right? You know, we all kind of know, you know, where that comes from: colonialism, white supremacy, etc. But yeah, really cool channel. Please go and subscribe. You know, criminally underrated channel, Third World Miss Explores. Really enjoyed that. That was very thorough, very you know, intelligent breakdown of you know, what went down there. And yeah, maybe we'll check out the first 2 episodes another time. But yeah, please go and show Third World Miss Explores some love. Again, yeah, definitely needs some more love on her channel. Yeah, I'm gonna go for another wee because I'm super hydrated at the minute, and extremely fucking needing pisses all the time. So I'll be back in a bit, and yeah, I'll see you in a tick. Okay. Oh, fucking hell. LIPK42. I'll have to watch the Stellenbosch video. We got taught a song about that at school in Afrikaans. Stellenbosch. Is that one of her videos? But welcome in. How you doing? That's right. It's piss. Piss. Chat, it's time for another video. Let's take a look real quick at what we got in the watch later playlist. We're at about like 10 minutes to 9 right now, which is crazy. But I got a bunch of different videos to watch. I don't know why some of the videos that I added last night didn't end up in the They didn't end up in the fucking watch later list. Why has this happened? I don't get it. Unavailable videos are hidden. Oh. Oh, fucking hell. Well, that sucks, doesn't it? Right, okay. Well, listen. We're gonna watch... It's time for it's the gardening hour. That's where we're at. On the stream right now. Gardening hour. I'm literally just gonna call it gardening hour. That's what we're doing. Yeah, this is less political, more just like, you know... I mean, you know, food empowerment is political, right? It is. It is. So we're gonna watch some stuff. I don't know where this guy went. There was a guy that I wanted to watch. Oh man. Let's just watch this guy. Let's just watch fucking Self-Sufficient Me. I like this guy a lot. I like this guy a lot. I was watching a video of his the other day about chickens.
This clover-ridden...
Ah, shut up! It's too loud. I was watching a video of his the other day about chickens, and he did mention he was watching the Joe Rogan podcast. He goes, I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and I was like, ooh, cringe. Hopefully he's not a fucking weirdo. Hopefully he's not an anti-vaxxer, fucking Jordan Peterson loving weirdo. He's got good vegetable knowledge though, and he doesn't seem to make videos from a reactionary standpoint, so that's fine. You know, we'll make an exception for him for now. So let's real quick have a look at what we got here. Yeah, it's gardening hour. Yeah, that's what we're doing. No-till growers is also super good. Park Rose permaculture is a lefty mum. Too many suggestions, too many recommendations. I know, but you aren't actually saying definitely watch them. So I am kind of wanting to watch Park Rose permaculture. That sounds pretty nice. Park Rose permaculture. You kind of want to watch her. Nah, he doesn't. I don't think he's a weirdo. So much white supremacy and self-sufficient community here in the States. Yeah, of course, because they're all about like being self-sufficient in order to escape the deep state liberal left, right? That's what it's all about. That's what they're talking about. Whereas like food empowerment is so left-wing. If they knew how left-wing what they were doing were, you know, they would probably get very sad about it. Yeah, libertarians, right? It's libertarians, innit? Yeah, most of them. Right, let's make that big. And I think the only content warning we're gonna need for this is like bugs. There may be bugs, chat. As with every gardening video, there may be bugs. So there you go. Chat, while we're here, don't forget I do this for a living, and basically all of the money that I make here on stream goes into supporting me, my life, paying my rent, paying my bills, buying food, taking myself out on little dates, taking my girlfriend out on dates. So please consider donating to the stream via the sub off Twitch command in the chat. There it is. Thank you, Shafiq. They've put it in there. And yeah, please consider doing that. It's very, very beneficial for many reasons. One of which is that 100% of the money that you donate will come directly to me, your boy, DJ Muel. It also means that you'll be funding an activist, because I actually do genuine activism. And I would like to keep doing it, to be honest. It also means that you're saying fuck you to Twitch, which is a platform that doesn't really listen to the voices of marginalized streamers and doesn't protect them. And if it does anything to quote unquote protect them, they spend way too long deliberating and not taking action. So yeah, there you go. That's why you should give money to me via the sub off Twitch link in the chat. I'm done. I've done the spiel for today. That's it. It's over. I don't really have an incentive for this month. Should we roll forward the incentive from last month where I was going to do a gnome stream dressed as a gnome? Fuck it. If we hit £900 before the end of this month, I'll do a gnome stream. Fuck it. Fuck it. Why not? Also, don't forget, chat, that we are taking suggestions. The mods are taking suggestions for the Laugh You Lose. If you laugh, you lose stream segment that's coming up soon. I don't know when. But send your funny videos that you think will make me laugh to a mod. DM them in Discord or something like that. And actually, I do need to ask TTK if they would mind making a channel for mods. Oh my god, adorable! That is piss. That's true. Thank you for the £5, adorable. Thank you for subbing off Twitch. Thank you for supporting the stream. Oh my god! And what he actually meant was
That's piss. That's
right. Incentive: do more speed runs. Only you want that, Jojo. It is. I need to sort out a lot of stuff. Oh, whoa!
Bring on the gnome.
Awesome, O'Greeve. Thank you for the £50. Thank you so much for subbing off Twitch. Thank you so much for supporting the stream. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's fucking crazy. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That is so kind of you. And thank you everybody for donating today. It's been really cool. That's Gnome. It's my payday, so I should share it. I really appreciate you supporting the stream like that. Thank you so much, Awesomeo. Thank you. Yeah, always want to make sure as well that, like, you know, I don't like to like insult people by saying this, because I think when people donate, they do know the limitations of their money, but like, please do not put yourself out if you think that you need money this month and you would rather that £50 be yours. Do you know what I mean? But we don't need to dwell on it. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? Like, when people donate to the stream, it makes me think like, okay, yeah, the content I'm doing is good, and people are enjoying it. I see no reason for them to donate unless that is the case. So yeah, appreciate that. I'm glad you're all enjoying the stream. Thank you so much for supporting me and keeping me alive. So anyway, we're going to check out this video. It's this guy. I've subscribed to him. You can subscribe to him if you want. It's up to you. It's not like the leftist video essay streamers where they definitely need your support and your help. Subscribe to this guy if you want. Like the video if you want. Watch it in a muted tab if you want. If you don't really care, whatever. Let's just watch it together. But this time we're learning about veggies that you've probably never heard of. So let's hear what he's got to say about that. Let me just move that a little bit lower. Bigger. Like that. Yeah, there we go. All right, yeah, here he is. Yeah, he's a fun guy.
Bed looks like I've been lazy on the weeding. And whilst that's true to an extent, what's under this clover is such an easy crop to grow that it'll make your eyes water. G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me.
I'm also absolutely obsessed with the size of his forearms. Like, you know, I'm always in the gym. I'm always fucking lifting. My forearms have always been like puny little tiny boy forearms, you know what I mean? Like, they're starting to get somewhere nowadays. But like, they've always been like small boys. This guy's got fucking Popeye arms. Do you know what I mean? He's got them fucking Popeye arms.
In
Nuts.
this video, I'm going to show you how to grow one of the most
awesome
crops
great minds
that you've probably never heard of, especially if you live in a Western country. It's a type of onion called rakyo in Japanese, or Chinese onion. Let's get into it.
I'm down for some Chinese onion. Let's go.
I'm always on the lookout for new plants, especially ones that can fill a growing gap. And one growing gap that we've got here in our hot climate is growing bulb onions through the hottest time of the year, summer. But not just growing them, being able to harvest the bulbs through summer so that you can have a nice fresh onion to eat. Here, most bulb onions are grown through our winter, harvesting in spring, and perhaps harvesting just as summer hits at the latest, particularly before the summer rains.
Look how weird real onions are. Do you know what I mean? Like, some of them look like your standard round ones and shit like that, but look at these. You got these, like, fucking weird long ones. What are you doing with that? What are you doing with this fucking long-ass onion over here? Holy fucking shit. Walking onions at a peak? What's a walking onion? Bulb onions suck. It's a lot of onions, isn't it? That is a lot of onions in general.
For the crop. However, rakyo onions are very hardy and can withstand our summer heat no problems if they get enough water. And that's one tip I'll give you. There's several more important points about growing this type of onion after this. What's small, white, and laughs a lot in salads? A tickled onion. Pickling onions is a great way to preserve them. It's
Give over.
also a fantastic way to enhance their flavour and make delicious snacks.
Oi, listen. Pickled onions are so fucking good. Right? So fucking good. Oh, yeah, he's such a dad. He's literally a dad. Walking onions, they grow seeds at the top of their stalks, which then falls over, growing a new walking onion only a bit of a way. Over the years, they walk across your garden. I'm not sure I understand this. I'm going to have to Google an image because I don't know what you're on about. Walking onions. Oh, what the fuck? What, you mean like strawberries? Oh, okay. So they like... Jesus, these things look gnarly as shit. So like... So what, you can like harvest... This is apparently a walking onion. So what, you can like harvest these like bulbs at the top and at the side as well? They're delicious. How different do they taste to just like normal onion? Like generic corporate onions? Yeah, goblin onions. These onions have gone goblin mode. That's what's happened. So they're more chivish. That's interesting. And so like what? You could take this bit and then this bit and this bit as well. So they're just like little onion fellas. Interesting. Excuse me. All right.
Rakyo onions have a mild flavour, so they pickle really well. So a good part of this harvest today will go for pickling. You probably can't see from there, but here,
oh my god, I've seen those fucking onions before. They have like tiny ones. Like, and they're normally in like funeral buffet food. Or like if you went to like a buffet when you were a kid at school or something, they would have like these tiny onions. Or like, wasn't there like a... I'm getting a memory is unlocking for me right now. Wasn't it like a pub snack? Oh yeah, those onions slick back real nice. Silver skins. Wait, what? I don't know what they are. Wasn't there like a pub snack? Pub snack with rakyo onion. Plight of a pickled onion. There was like little tiny onions that they got. There's a blog here called Old... What the fuck is going on here now? I've just found this like ancient blog. What is this? Moonbase Central? What is this? I don't understand. What is this? Old bar snacks. This is a blog post from 2015, although it looks like it was written in 1984. As a kid, I occasionally went into a pub. I didn't go into my own to imbibe a pint or two. On my own. I went into that dim, forsaken corner called the family room, where parents who still like to drink could watch their kids play table tennis or cribbage in a damp space devoid of any charm whatsoever. Yeah, I remember this shit. I much preferred going outside in the beer gardens, especially if my dad brought some snacks. In the 60s and 70s, bar snacks were not sophisticated. Gastropubs were 30 years ago. What was on the menu? Pork scratchings, scampi bites, Ritz crackers, pickled onions. Right? No pub bar was worth its salt without a huge jar of pickled onions standing tall next to the tips bottle, like a lab flask of small brains in formaldehyde. Pickled onions were the cherries of pub cuisine, the acid test of a good sesh. I love getting one set out in the beer garden, and the combination of brine and Tizer was a juvenile rush. Meals, chicken in a basket. What is going on here now? Yeah, this is how fucked the UK is. If you think about how much of an alcohol problem the UK has in general, it's that, yes, like years ago, kids were just allowed in pubs. And in fact, I went into a pub recently where it definitely didn't look like there should be children in there, and there was children. Because parents are just like, yeah, I've got to drink. I absolutely have to drink, and I'm looking after my kids. So, yes, there we go. Old pubs with a bar, lounge, and family room, all separate and each more dank than the last. And you would like sit down on the whatever, like the seats, and it would just be like, oh, and it like smell like piss or damp or whatever, you know. Grim. There's still pubs with playgrounds outside pretty much explicitly for that. Oh yeah, definitely in like rural Britain, they are like, they absolutely still have like playgrounds in pubs. Mental. Just fucking mental.
See, the onions are starting to flower. Well, some of them are. That's a good sign to harvest them now before that energy goes into flowering and going to seed.
You didn't know pickled onions were a thing? Oh, they're so good.
Draw all that energy out of the bulb.
It is weird.
And we don't want that. We want to preserve the bulb in its prime rather than...
Oh my God, Muel. Yeah, you're talking about my childhood as well. Yeah, go into it. Yeah, that's a very like specific British, maybe northern... English memory there of like going to like a horrible pub by a canal and drinking Panda Pops. Yeah, fucking Panda Pop. I was never allowed Panda Pops because my mum and dad were always like, no, you'll ruin your teeth. But like whenever my mum and dad weren't looking, I would just get like my mates try a bit of a Panda Pop, and Panda Pops were crazy, man. Just fucking crazy. Not as good as like regular Coke or Vimto or whatever, but yeah. Hey tab A slot A, yeah. E numbers, yeah. So many fucking E numbers in that shit. 100%. Recall visiting a family in the 90s and just playing outside in the dark in a sports playground while the family was in the sports cafeteria drinking. Yeah. Yeah, it is haunted. It is absolutely haunted. Cursed and haunted.
Become depleted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig them all up. Then I will keep some to replant and let them multiply again. Look at that. Look at that one. So I planted them originally in August 2021 as they came in the container, and then I dug them up 12 months later in August 2022. It's now February 2023, 7 months later. So let's just backtrack a bit. After the 12 months, what I did was I dug them up, and I was disappointed with the size. There were lots of tiny, small onions. So I thought, you know what? I might painstakingly separate all of these and plant them individually in...
What the fuck are you on about? Do wild ramps grow in Britain? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? What is a ramp? Wild ramp? Oh, that... Why do you call it that? Was it like a leek? It looks like a leek. They're awesome. Let me show the chat. There you go. That's a wild ramp, apparently. They just look like spring onions. They're like onions. Here they sell pickled onions on its own, but also there's a mix of pickled onions, olives, and pickled gherkins. The fucking trifecta. Yeah, I fucking love pickled onions, pickled gherkins, pickled olives. So prime, so delightful. Pickled beetroot is underrated as well. Good for your heart and all. They aren't cultivatable, but they are wild. So, like, you just kind of got to forage these, yeah? This is probably where, like, onions just came from. I love their little, like, buttons at the bottom. Like, these are kind of cute. They got, like, little nubbins at the bottom here. Most onion bulbs are pretty finicky to cultivate. Yeah, sure. Gotcha.
Rows in this part of the bed, and then hopefully those bulbs will mature and grow bigger given some more space. And it looks like I was correct. They look like a bunch of chives, really. They grew fairly similar to that, except very different underneath the soil.
You got a shipment during lockdown, pickled some and made pesto out of the rest. Nice. Garlic is a bitch to cultivate. Hate. I imagine garlic needs to be grown in like very warm climates. Yeah, this guy's getting so many onions.
$1,000,014.
Shut up, bro. You not got 1,014 onions.
I don't
in
know.
there.
I lost count. I've been going for about 4 hours. What I'm going to do now, future...
4 hours?
Is just a little bit older than me.
My man's been fucking harvesting onions for 4 hours. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
He's going to take them and run them through the rolling sifter just to give them a wash.
Fall sowers, you just got to let them
the dirt, and also
from for forever. Wait, what?
Most of these outer skins. You could have cured these if you want.
Hi,
to
Husker.
on the bench. Don't process them like I did and cut the roots and stems off. Instead, just let them die back on a rack out in the sun or in a warm, shady spot on some wire mesh. Let them mature over a few days, and they'll get a harder skin on them, and then you can store them away in the pantry. But we don't want to do that. We're going to take the outer layer of skin off. Well, most of them, some of them don't need it. And then Future Mark is going to process them and pickle them. Probably a couple of different ways. One just sort of plain, another one in chili, and perhaps some in apple cider vinegar instead of plain vinegar.
Nice. What's this? What's going on here now? What's he doing? What's this? I don't understand. Was he just washing it? Oh, right. Okay, cool. All right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's how he gets those forearms. It's all that harvesting, man. For sure. Giving him a little rinse, innit? Oh, this guy... Listen, Husker, this guy is dressed like an absolute slut. We've spoken about his ass before. He just like sticks his ass right in the center of the frame all the time, wearing those short shorts. Something about Aussies and like short shorts. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Did they invent short shorts or something? It's like I've seen like 2 Aussies who are into permaculture. Does anyone remember when we were watching that fucking that one where he had all the piss? Do you remember?
That's piss.
The one where he had all the piss and he had an Aussie guy there. And that Aussie guy was wearing short shorts as well. He knows his audience. He does. He does. It's really fucking warm in Australia. Yeah, of course. You can't see the video. Sorry. Don't worry, you didn't miss much. He was just peeling onions. That's looking peng. Stardew Valley forearm mod. 2 parts vinegar to 1 part water. Okay. Why does he do that, chat? Why does he add water in? Salt, bunch of salt, brown sugar, chilies. They look really fucking nice, man. That looks simultaneously really boring and satisfying. Yeah, the gallons and gallons of piss those guys had. Different stages of maturation. So funny. To dilute the vinegar? Yeah, but why? Yeah, I guess that's why, but like... why do you need to dilute vinegar? Like, will it just ruin it or some shit? I don't know. So... Okay. Cool. Kind of cute. He's got his own little...
Pickle me, Grandma. I think I did a pretty good job. We'll see how they age. I'm pretty confident that those are going to be some of the best ruckyos you'll ever want to taste. So what am I going to do now?
Oh, stops it from sucking the water out of the onions. Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, my stepmom made her own pickled onions, and they were kind of good. And pickled cucumbers and shit. Really nice. I didn't taste the pickled beetroot, though, which I kind of regret.
Oh, well, I'll put these to the side and give them to future Mark soon. You'll see that I've already potted up a couple of these ones, just 3 of them, as insurance, because what I'm going to do now, I'm going to plant a whole bunch of those smaller ones that I saved so that I could replant back into this bed and grow them in clumps again and start that whole process all over. So you've got that continual crop of Chinese onions. And if they don't work out for some reason, I'm sure these will grow nicely, and then I can plant them back into another garden bed or back into the
Oh,
same
chat,
bed.
I want this life so much. I don't think you understand how much I want this life. You know, I just want this life. Have you ever had a pickled egg? Yeah, I've had pickled eggs, yeah. Pickled beetroot is one of the few pickle things I really like. It's really good for you. Beetroot just on its own is really good for you.
Future, I might add a little bit of extra soil and compost to this bed, but for now, I'm going to use those tops back in the bed as a mulch.
Mulch.
Around, and that'll be worm food and also a mulch to protect the soil from the harsh sun, retain a little bit of moisture. It'll break down and give the soil some extra energy and nutrients. I'll just make a gap here in the soil in about 6 inches from the edge of the bed. Not too deep. I don't want the onions rotting. That'll be enough for the first planting. And all I'm going to do is just whack them in a few centimeters apart or an inch apart.
An underrated pickle is pickled watermelon rind. Can you eat the rind on a watermelon?
Cover them over.
Yeah, red fruits and veg really good for you. I mean, the thing is that what you can't forget is that
enough.
other coloured veg and fruit are also good for you in different ways. I just think it's that we eat those veg and fruit more often, right? You know what I mean?
Or another row.
Like, how often do you eat purple vegetables?
Good water.
You have to pickle it. Is that what it is?
Settle the roots down. Well, I'm really happy with how this crop of rakio has come up. And I'm really happy with my Japanese as well. It's coming along, don't you think? But I love them. I think they're fantastic. And I recommend you grow them. I mean, look at this, middle of summer, subtropical
it's a sweeter
climate,
pickle.
Australia. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big Japanese rakyo thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video around because that's what really helps my channel out heaps. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.
There he is. See you later, bro. With his rakyo. Love that shit. What else do we got? 5 veggies that grow faster than grass. There's a purple variety of potato that you wanted to try. Yeah, we saw that on the stream a couple of couple of days ago, right? I'm sure I've heard eat a rainbow from more than one person in public health. Yeah, for sure. Like, I've heard people say to me before, you should always have at least 3 colors on your plate, right? So you would want, like, you know, 1 green, 1 red, 1 white or brown or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, that kind of shit. Makes sense, right? You know what I mean? Variety is the spice of life. Also, eating just like a lot of different stuff is very good for you. Yeah, brown, beige, and white, my favorite. That's the entire food, you know, pyramid, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, just eat Skittles with every meal, of course. All right. You're all very funny.
G'day, I'm Mark.
You're all very funny.
And in this video, I'm going to give you 5 vegetables that grow faster than grass. Let's get into it.
Phytonutrients, yeah.
You've got me. The grass at this time of year doesn't grow as fast.
Only colors in our plate here is red, white, and blue, brother.
But that's not the point. The point of this video is to show you 5...
Got like that Sonic curry and tomato sauce and like mashed potatoes.
really quick, smart, super duper fast growing greens that you can grow in a hurry. But not only that, give you several tips on how you can harvest these greens early so that you can get some food in the kitchen and on the plate quicker than you can say, these greens grow like weeds.
His arms are
Number
so
one
big.
Is lettuce. I rarely ever have to buy lettuce seed from the store or online because it just comes up in our lawn. And there are reasons why that happens. It's not by accident, but it sort of is. It's by accident because I make it an accident.
Wait, what?
By letting our lettuce plants go to seed. Just in this one patch of grass.
I'm just like imagining like him like sort of like, oh, I make it an accident, and he like puts a blindfold on and like totters around the garden at night with like a bunch of lettuce seeds just going like, oh, oops-a-daisy, oh, oops-a-daisy, just like dropping all these lettuce seeds everywhere. That's how I'm choosing to imagine this.
Us around here, there are several varieties of lettuce growing. You've got this yellow leaf lettuce, a red coral type lettuce, a mini cos which is just crunchy as and so prolific and fast growing.
Lettuce is so easy.
You could even group some endive,
Guerrilla
curly leaf bitter endive that is lovely in an Italian salad, growing also popping up everywhere. They are now starting to interrupt other crops that I actually sowed for real. For instance, you won't
It's called
find
chaos gardening.
many weeds
Get out
at
of
all
town.
in this bed. But you will see a plethora
I love
of
chaos
salad
gardening.
crops
That's how I
coming
want to
up
garden.
here. It's just crazy. And I've been picking them like crazy because
2 weeks!
I have planted spring onions, a red bulb spring onions along here, and larger red oblong onion on the outsides. And they're starting to grow well, except these...
What the fuck you want about oblong onion? Why did he say that? Did he actually say that? Oblong onion? Was that a shallot? That's just a shallot. Oblong onion. Is that like an Aussie thing? No, Americans understand it. So... When I've Googled it, it just comes up with this. And this is a shallot. That's a shallot right there. Lettuce likes cooler weather, so you can start them early and start them late in the year. Ooh. Anyway, whatever.
Lettuce seedlings are coming up and they're starting to smother the onion seedlings. And I don't want that. But at the same time, it's a conundrum. We've been picking them like crazy to
Long
eat
onion.
and transplant in other places.
Like when they
But
grow
I think
watermelons
you'll
in
agree,
boxes. Hey,
this is a
Middle-earth
really
Marxists, yeah,
nice
obviously.
problem to have. 2 crops out of the one bed. As these onions are slowly maturing, they're going to take a while, several months, probably only be ready in around summer. The spring onions, they will be ready sooner, of course, and we can harvest them a little earlier. But as they are developing, we can harvest these lettuce as they pop up. Some of them are still just popping up as small seedlings, others are more developed. I'll just harvest the ones that are encroaching more on the onions first, and as they get bigger, get rid of them. So then finally, when the onions are ready for maturity and needing that extra sun and growth room, the lettuces will all be harvested. It's a win-win. Every one of these lettuce plants here have either been transplanted from the lawn or the adjoining bed here. And look at how healthy they are growing.
Chat, I just had an intrusive thought and I completely didn't listen to anything that you just said. Just completely missed all of that from about here.
First, and as they get bigger, get rid of them. So then finally, when the onions are ready for maturity and needing that extra sun and growth room, the lettuces will all be harvested. It's a win-win.
Just like me for real. I'm just like you for real.
Every one of these.
Gotta go pick up my meds. Remember your meds, everybody. Oh, see you in a bit, Prince.
From the lawn.
Have a good day. I might not be here by the time you get back.
Here. And look at
how healthy
maybe they are growing.
Anyway, stay safe. See you in a bit. Thanks for being here.
Out of this head here, you'll get thousands of
take your meds, chat.
Seeds. And with those seeds, I tend to sometimes save them, but most of the time I just let the wind scatter them, or I crunch them up, throw them around.
Right, so that's what he means when he says he does it by accident on purpose.
They will come up one time at the right time as well. And that is another interesting fact about most types of self-seeding plants like this. Number 2 is mustard. Isn't it cute? Very tasty too, especially the young leaves. But this can turn into a really big plant that is starting to get there, but Japanese mustard can get humongous. It looks.
Is that actually where you get mustard from? Is that actually where you get it from? Like you get it from those leaves and seeds and stuff? Because I see mustard seeds all the time, you know? You accidentally spilled coffee on your lettuce seeds last fall? Oh my god.
Again, just like lettuce.
Hey Tooters, how's it going? Can I get a shout out for Tooters, please, Shafiq?
And of course we know it's seeds
from the seeds, not the leaf, right? Gotcha. Yeah, those are the seeds.
Seeds have done for thousands of years to make wonderful condiments.
Of course.
Here we grow the Japanese.
You just explained
and the ruby streaks. Both grow extremely fast. They can get a little strong to eat as they get large, but if you eat the leaves young, they are just delicious, especially if you mix it in with another type of salad. Because this plant is going to get
This guy loves salads.
I'll have to harvest this very soon, otherwise
yeah, where do they add the yellow?
In this immediate area, because it'll just be smothered.
Of course he makes his own homegrown mustard. King, yeah.
Sorrel.
King shit.
Sorry that this looks a little bit like a shallow grave. I assure you there's nothing buried underneath here. I'm just refurbishing some old garden beds and making new ones. And
it's like that bit in Always Sunny where he's like, we definitely got to make a song saying that we don't diddle kids. And he's like, people are definitely going to think that you diddle kids if we make a song like that. If he hadn't have said anything, I wouldn't have been sus at all about it. But now he said that, I'm like, he's got 2 guys buried there, 100%, 1000%.
That's why this pile of soil
extremely
is here.
sus.
But it brings me to a fantastic point. In this garden bed was some sorrel, and look how it's popping up through. Can you see any weeds? No weeds. This sorrel is outgrowing any weeds or grasses on this bare soil.
It is actually one of like the best bits of Always Sunny. It's so fucking funny. Like just Danny DeVito doing this. So fucking funny. Oh my god. I saw this episode at the fucking weekend and I was fucking dying. Why don't I have CC for this? Anyway, never mind.
This is bad. We gotta definitely write a song about how we do not diddle kids. Do not diddle kids, it's no good diddling kids.
There is no quicker way for people to think that you are diddling kids than by writing a song about it.
You gotta write a song that says, ooh, I wouldn't do it with anybody younger than my daughter. No little kids gotta be big, older than my wife, older than my daughter, something like that.
It's just like this whole episode. He's like so frantic. He like the reason he's got like a bloody nose is because he like runs in the bar and he's so anxious about like he's inherited or some shit. He made a bad deal and he's like he's in charge of like a beauty pageant for kids now and he's like terrified. Because like the guy previously was getting done for obviously like diddling kids. Oh my god, it's so fucking funny. Just like the whole setup and everything.
This is bad. We gotta definitely write a song about how we do not diddle kids. Do not diddle kids, it's no good diddling kids.
There is no quicker way for people to think that you are diddling kids than by writing a song about it.
You gotta write a song that says, ooh, I wouldn't do it with anybody younger than my daughter. No little kids gotta be big, older than my wife, older than my daughter, something like that.
So fucking good. Oh yeah, for that fucking I think that episode was like from 2010 or something, or 2009. I can't remember. Like, Always Sunny has been going for like so fucking long. Oh my god, I just absolutely die every single time. Yeah, all the songs that Charlie writes are kind of about that, right? Yeah, exactly.
And that is remarkable. It's so
he's down on all fours with the sorrel, yeah.
In sorrel goes down so far, so quickly, that it can outgrow just about anything. It is growing in my lawn over there too. It grows anywhere. And I'll show you another spot. In our raised tunnel trellis here, it's come out of nowhere in a little bare patch of grass.
The secret to tasty sorrel is nutrient-rich soil, and no one needs to know where those nutrients came from.
That's right.
That I prepared for some cucumbers that didn't make it, but it has just taken the opportunity to sow itself right here. And it couldn't be in a more perfect spot, to be honest. I'm going to leave it there. It's filling a gap in the garden bed between two tomato plants, and that's all that I wanted, was this space to be used with a food crop and not wasted. This is a red vein sorrel, and I reckon it's underrated. It is beautiful, young, especially in salads, and you can even chop it up really fine and make it into a quite spicy, nice sauce. It's a bit of a cross between mustard, rocket and lettuce, in my opinion, and it is
He does look like he shaves his
hardy
legs.
and fast growing. One of my all-time favourites. And speaking of all-time favourite plants to grow, number 4 is the good old bok choy. Let's pick up a little small one here. Of course, it's growing in the lawn. And
Sorry, Ludo, got to start
in.
clamping down
You
on that
see
shit
this
again.
Vegetable all the time, especially in Asian food stores, but in Asian food and in lots of European food as well, because it just grows so easily.
He's got to have as much
Plant is
skin
edible.
contact with grass as
It's a
possible. Yeah,
juicy,
defo.
lovely, mild type
Yeah,
of
bok choy
green
is so nice.
that is easy to eat, not bitter. The pace at which this thing can grow is incredible.
Thank you, Ludo.
Let one of
Appreciate
these
that.
plants go to seed,
Appreciate your
and it
understanding.
will produce literally thousands of seeds. You can then spread them around the garden if you want, or you can collect them and then sow them at will. But my favourite way to eat them isn't to let them mature, which is very nice, to have a nice mature bok choy, a large plant you see in the grocers. I reckon the best way is to eat them when they're small, and it's so easy to do, and it's not a waste to over sow in a garden bed and then just pluck them out small, because you're getting the seed for free anyway. And the other thing that I love about bok choy is how little fertiliser it needs to grow. It'll grow practically in any type of poor soil. Now, I don't mean that you should grow it in poor soil and not look after it, but I'm just saying that if you don't have a very fertile plot or you don't have some good potting soil in a container, well, this is one of the plants that you can grow to save a lot
with
of money
salmon, yeah.
and to grow fast.
Wait, what? The full growth period of bok choy is 6 weeks, harvestable after week 3 and 4? What the fuck?
Yeah, that bok choy should do really well there and fill up that little gap between those onions nicely. Number 5, I'm going to go quite broad and call it as most baby greens. And I've got a good reason for
Shakespeare.
it. Because I'm an oversower. I'll admit it. I've got a problem. I oversow. And I love oversowing because that's how I get all those baby greens on a plate and harvesting food for the kitchen and on the plate quicker than I would otherwise, because I oversow. And I've got heaps of those little examples for you here. Let's start just here. Kale, pick up a little bit. And when they're small like this, I know some people don't like kale. I love it. The whole family loves it. And it pickles really nice too, especially if you mix it up with some cabbage.
Wait, what did he just say?
And when they're small like here, let's start just here. Kale, pick up a little bit.
Kale.
And when they're small like this, I know some people don't like kale. I love it. The whole family loves it. And it pickles really nice too.
You can get you can pickle kale.
Cabbage like
pickle kale. Oh,
carrots.
yeah.
I'll bring them closer. Some people might think, oh, Mark, it's a waste. You've sowed a whole packet of carrot seed here, and they're not going to all grow very well because they're so close together. But that's the thing. As you thin them out, you're eating them early. So let's get an example here. I'll just pull out this one here. Now these have only been growing for a few weeks.
That's pretty fucking cool for a few weeks, you know?
A little root there. You know how much you pay in a fancy restaurant for this type of stuff?
You can pickle most things. Yeah, I think that's what we're learning here.
Restaurants will put a baby green on the plate like this, big white
Well,
plate.
isn't Branston pickle like a combination of like pickled carrot and pickled onion and pickled something else mixed with like a brownish viscous sauce or something? You didn't have kale until you were an adult because your mum hated it. I love kale. Kale with butter. Oh my god. Mwah, so prime. Just like boil it, mix it with, you know.
Art, and they'll make it gourmet food.
Hey, it can trunk. The tops make a good herb like parsley.
Maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the gist, don't you? You can have this replicated at home in your own kitchen, in your dining room, eating a small baby carrot like this and have it all gourmet.
Oh my god, chat, I can't wait. I gotta go for a week.
But that's not the only thing. You can also eat the leaves. Chop them up real fine. But imagine this, you don't have to eat it like that. You can chop it up really fine and like have a tabbouleh. Am I saying that right? In the comment section below, where you can make a roll out of it or have it on a kebab and with a sauce and some meats. It'd be beautiful cut up nice and fine. Well, it is beautiful cut up nice and fine like that. So there's plenty of options. Feeding yourself early, you're also allowing enough room for those remaining plants to develop a nice big carrot or bulb or whatever type of edible baby green you're growing. On the inside of these carrots, I'm growing celeriac, and you can see that again, I've oversowed it. But I have
what happened?
Some and spread them apart.
What do you mean I missed the funniest moments? What happened?
Growing crop, but you can also eat the tops, and you can also eat them baby, just like celery. Have a look at this long row of
that doesn't sound that funny.
Peas. Look at this.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with missing that.
Beetroot and peas, and in the middle here, I've transplanted
carrots
some of that
and lettuce
celeriac
in your
here
first
as
garden.
well.
Ooh.
Giving it some good spacing. Going to get a ton of celeriac, but also a ton of
Had to be there?
beetroot
Okay.
and peas. And all of these crops.
Hey, Confero, how's it going? Welcome in.
Young.
I don't understand. I don't understand people who are like, "Oh yeah, roast kale." Like, who is roasting leaves? I don't understand. He was just on a take that a lot of roots of edible leaves when the plant is young. Ah, okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, he's got a lot of space, and this is like, I was talking about this on Red Planet last night, right? About like, when it comes to food empowerment, you would have to collaboratively run a permaculture, a large permaculture space with your neighbors, right? With your community, your immediate community and stuff. You know, you not everyone has the space in like a house to grow all the food that you need throughout the year, right? That kind of thing. Isn't tea roasted leaves or some shit? Boiled leaves, whatever. I don't know. I'm not British. Tea are leaves that like are left out in the sun. I'm imagining how many farm spaces like this you could fit onto where roads are in cities. So many. So many. Yeah. Yo, Vietnam do a thing like this. Vietnam Community Garden. So Luna Oi was talking about this, and they started doing this in Vietnam. I think they started doing it during the pandemic. People were like starting to grow more food on their own and stuff. But like, no, this isn't it. Vietnam community gardens, just Vietnam community gardens, I guess. Vietnamese heritage community garden, Vietnamese community gardens, open green map. Yeah, in city soils it's a bit different. Hey, Gart Nerdily, how you doing? Yeah, it's a bit different in city soil. Ideally, you would just like use soil from somewhere else if you were going to garden in a city. Do you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't be able to just like. Also, like breaking up all the road would be a waste of time when you could just build raised beds instead. Just do raised beds. You know what I mean? And bring in soil from elsewhere. You could do the you know, the pollutant soil repair or whatever after you could do that later, you know? It's whatever. Yeah, it's not fucking giving me what I want here, but like I know that this is a thing. I know that they have like gardens in Vietnam that are just like by the side of the road where anyone can go and garden and like take crops and stuff like that, you know? Tear up the tarmac because it's a shitty floor. Oh, no. We should tear up tarmac for sure. We should. They only exist to serve cars, and cars are individual capitalist nonsense, right? So fuck it all off. You know, replace it with accessible buses and transport for disabled people, you know what I mean? Very important. Gather branches from all over, clean yards for people for free compost. Wait, what? Oh, sure, yeah. You can make your own compost, yeah. And then for transit, we can have some streets that are just grass and have tram lines. Oh, yes. See, now you're thinking post-capitalism. That's what we like. That's what we like.
The leaves. It looks a little bit like sorrel, actually.
Another life
tastes completely
is possible.
Different.
Another world is possible.
Tender and mild, the beetroot leaves, and it doesn't hurt picking the leaves as the beetroot are growing, or picking a baby beetroot. But here, look at these. A lot of people don't realise that you can pick off pea leaves because you're waiting for the pea pods to develop. They can take a while, can take a couple of months before you're getting peas or even snow peas that you eat whole. But you can also pick the leaves and have them in salads. They're dainty. They're sweet. People love them. Scatter them on a plate. People say, what are they?
If this guy is straight, if this guy is cis-hetero, right, cisgender, heterosexual, then he's the kind of guy that I think lots of guys need to start being like. He's a little bit gay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's okay to be this guy. It's okay to refer to leaves as dainty and taste them and enjoy them. You know, a little soft soil boy. He's got a wife and kids. That's never stopped anyone from being queer or trans. Well, queer, trans is queer is trans. But you know what I mean? He's the female gaze? What? His wrists are a little limp. Oh my god. Well, listen, anyway, if he's got a wife and kids, you know, let's read him as straight for now. Cis and straight, right? Yeah, every cishet guy should be a little bit more like this guy. It's a little bit fruity, but not fruity enough, you know, if you don't want to be. You should try it, though, because you only live once. Just saying. Anyway, yeah, you know, that's it.
Never seen them before. That's different.
Oh, to be an onion being peeled by a soft soil man.
I've never tried pea leaves. Give it a crack. They eat it. Tastes like a pea. Yeah.
Oh, I nearly choked.
Great. The same rule applies.
I thought he was going to say tastes like a penis, but then he just said tastes like a pea, and it was still funny.
Other examples, there's plenty of them, and there's lots that I don't know. If you do have
pickled jalapenos are so good, Sorka, yeah.
Edibles that you can eat early whilst waiting for the rest of it to mature, that grow as fast as grass, especially at this time of year, let me know in the comments section below, because I'd love to learn from you guys. I always do. Well, I hope you enjoyed
10
this
more years out of your compost. Look at this guy's...
Summer.
Okay, we got a lot of people in chat talking about compost. Let's take a look at this guy's compost bed. Compost bay, even. What's he doing here?
G'day, I'm Mark from Self-Sufficient Me, and sorry for the dishevelled look. I've been doing quite a bit of work today, and not only that, I just got bitten by a paper wasp. As I was preparing for this video, I shook the pallet wall over there, and as I shook it, just to test its viability, because it's getting pretty dilapidated, which is what...
Listen, if you're gonna live in Australia... Yeah, exactly. If you're gonna live in Australia, what do you expect, bro? Not gonna lie.
This video,
you know,
there was a blooming nest of paper wasps in there, and one of them got me right on the middle finger here, the ring finger. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, that's got big,
don't
bro.
Don't take that the wrong way, but look.
Nah, listen, it's not about fuck wasps. Wasps are really important. They're pollinators. Yeah, they're cool. Listen, wasps are fine. Don't be mean to wasps. Only be mean to slugs. There is no benefit to slugs existing in the world. They are disgusting. Everything about them is gross. You know? That's the end of that. That's also a joke. I just don't like them personally.
So you can see that dent? That's like hard as an egg.
Wet a little tobacco, put it on the wasp bite. It'll be gone in an hour.
That's this one's not. What you get is initially severe pain. It's like someone puts a cigarette out on your skin, and that lasts for probably 10 minutes. And
10 minutes of that!
Throb, then it starts to itch, and tomorrow and the next few days it'll come up in a welt, and I won't bore you with the details, but now what I want to do is show you my trusty 3-bay compost piles that I've had
mosquitoes as well.
Years.
Fuck mosquitoes.
And in this video,
oh my gosh.
I want to explain to you what I'm going to do to get hopefully another decade use out of this really basic but excellent system for composting. Let's get into it.
I love his little sound effect. Whoosh. I love like who he is, right? Who he actually is, like what he is, what he looks like, who he is, etc. Right? And then, you know, you see like he's got like the planting little illustration. He's got the chicken here. He's got like a little, you know, apiary thing here, right? But then at the end, there's just like a guy standing on an arrow going up. Like, bro, what is that? What are you on about? Like, is he trying to say like, plant, have chickens, have bees, profit? Like, bro, come on, man. It's not all about profit, you know?
I have
got
to
the
be careful
stonks.
because they're still hanging around.
Steve
I knocked
Irwin
the
of
nest
gardening.
down,
Yeah,
I've
I'm down.
sprayed the nest, so anything that's hatching out of it will die. Now they're going to have to find another home somewhere. So I've got
Maybe
a
that's what he's
typical
saying,
3-bay
saving money,
compost
yeah.
piles here. Some people have them square. I decided.
Bro, this guy's got so much land. That's why he's obsessed with stonks. He's got so... Look at all the land he's got. He's got so much fucking space there. No one's got this much space, bro.
Go for rectangle bays. I could fit more in there. For those who aren't familiar with the 3-bay composting system, basically what it is your first bay you fill up full of green waste. I mean chock-a-block it. This one here just a few days ago was, I reckon, probably up here high. The more you have chockers in there of green waste, the faster it will compost down and the hotter that pile will get.
3 acres?
The first bay is the first stage of the compost making. And what you do then is you let that compost down for several months until you see it compacted right down to maybe only a foot high or even less. What you do then is you turn
that's what I'm
take
thinking,
the top layer
Vord,
that
yeah.
hasn't broken down yet off and you put it in to the second bay here on the bottom, and then all that humus and compost that's on the bottom of this pile you throw in on top of that waste, and then that second bay is left to finalise or finally break down that top layer that hasn't been broken down yet. And then simply the third bay is for your finished product. That's where you put all the stuff.
There's a little
in the
puppy
second
there,
bay
yeah.
Once it's all been broken down into
Dog
that
on screen.
third bay. In the meantime, once you've emptied that first
Oh, this is old footage. Did you see that? Oh my god, what is this?
been broken down into that third bay.
Bro, he's like fucking 30 years old here. Yeah, his arms definitely aren't as swole as they as they are nowadays, you know? Still got big thick legs though.
In the meantime, once you've emptied that first bay, you can start filling that one up again and keeping that process going. That's the basic principle of the 3-bay composting system. You can
I wasn't fucking listening, chat.
make it as big or as small as you like. Over the last 12 months, I haven't been using this much. I've just been filling, or Nina did a lot as well. All our garden waste have been getting packed into this first one, but I haven't used the second or third because we used up all our compost out of those bays and there isn't anything in there at this stage except for grass and weeds growing up through it and some matting that I put down.
I like that you could just make these with pallets.
grass
It's
and
pretty
weeds
cool,
growing
right?
through it. And the other reason for not using those other 2 bays at the moment is because I'm testing out some other composters, primarily tumbler composters and the standard compost.
Bro, that's not a composter. That is a tombola roller. That's what that is. That's for a fucking tombola.
Bin, and I'll bring you those results in later videos. The other thing is I
put my waste in the tombola bin, mate.
These bays for a long time.
Because I'm fucking mental.
More resilient, but also to stop grasses growing.
You got one of those
guys? To get rid of those gaps, tidy them up, make them look a bit better, make them easier to use, because all these gaps in the pallet, not
it
only
is,
does the
I agree,
grass and weeds
Sorka,
grow
yeah.
up through them, you're losing.
You don't need to contain them, you can just have a big pile, right? Yeah.
Areas as well. What I've come up with is an idea that I would use some of this here. This is like plastic.
Like, the only issue with doing this, like where I live, is that there's way too many rats. I would just have a family of rats. They would just be chilling in my compost bit. They would just live there and then they would eat all my compost and that was it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Free friends. Wild rats are not as cute as you think. They got diseases and shit, man. I love rats. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love them. Mice and rats are good for compost. Wait, why? Okay, now I'm interested.
Plastic lining. It comes from Plastic Forests. This is a company that recycles soft plastics, and it's not an easy thing to do. I've talked about Plastic Forests.
The shit's got ammonia in it? Oh, of course.
It's just a passion of
cool.
mine that
Nature
I have
prevails.
About recycling and sustainability. I don't want to
It aerates the pile, making things break down faster. Ooh. Yeah, and they won't eat everything in there, innit? Like, they won't eat, like, trees and shit.
think this is a great idea if we can reuse our plastics.
They might eat like some veg and what have you, but even if it's like rotting, they won't eat that, right?
The idea will be to tack it on to the inside of those bays, and I think it'll work a treat. So that's what I'm going to do. But before I put this
and you could name them
forest plastic down, I need to tidy up these bays a bit and give them a bit of a whippersnip.
Just don't touch them, I guess.
Crossed that I don't have to run like Usain Bolt again. Actually, I might just put down a bit of covering.
Rats are like furry worms. Technically, humans are like furry worms.
See that one? Came straight at me.
Worms with tiny dogs taped to their heads.
It looks like all the wasps have gone. It's 2 days later, and I'm happy to report that not only are the wasps gone, well, there's been a few stragglers, but I think they're just randoms coming past. But also, the old middle finger, she's healed up. Thank goodness. It was throbbing for a good, I reckon, 36 hours or so, but it's come good. So what I want to do is tackle what I first started, and that is, well, I didn't even get a chance to start, did I? But I want to clean up these 2 compost bays, and over here you can see a ton of cow manure. I picked that up from the dairy yesterday.
He's never swore. We've never heard him swear, and he just swears this one time.
I can tell you, it's some of the best poop you'll ever want to see or feel. I just love manure through the hands, don't you? But I'll show you that once I've finished refurbishing these bays.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone enjoys feeling manure in the hands apart from people who do it regularly. That's poo. That's shit. That's shit. I didn't expect this guy to have like a petrol fucking weed whacker, you know? Of all the people to have one of those, I didn't expect him to have that.
I'm just going to be using some roofing screws. These are actually second-hand ones. Things that have been refurbished from our decking and from our build of our home, our renovations. What are you doing?
Oh my god, it's a kookaburra!
Kookaburra.
He's like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
I need to get some screws.
Yeah, they're massive. They're fucking huge.
Well, that's the bottom layer done. I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. It's sort of how I...
Pause. Why is it paused? Why is it finished?
I've done the back as well.
Oh.
I'm going to put another layer on here. This plastic is quite malleable and it moulds into place. Even though these are far from square, these bays are just, well, for a start, because of the angle of the land, they are staggered downwards. So it's good that the plastic is able to be, you know, screwed willy-nilly into place to make it fit retrospectively. Well, I've run out of plastic, unfortunately, and I don't have any more of this 1.3mm plastic left. I've got some of the 3mm, but it's just a bit too thick to use for a job like this. this size plastic to line things like compost bays is the...
I actually love how Goblin Core this is. Like, he's not really done it in any pattern or anything. He's just kind of drilled it in. He's just drilled these rivets in wherever the fuck he wants. You know what I mean? He's just like, yeah, just put them anywhere, mate. It's fucking fine. You know?
Perfect type of mix of strength and also malleability, if that's a word, to be able to sort of squish it into place, especially like I said before, if it's not square, and this certainly isn't. I'll hit up plastic forests and get some more of this 1.3 mil plastic from them, and then I will finish lining the back. Of course, that first bay, I haven't done that yet anyway. So once that first bay is empty, and I've poured it into the second bay, then I will line that first bay anyway. So the job can't really be totally finished today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to load up this last bay, because it's just a holding bay anyway, with this manure. And then I'll be using that manure in the garden, and whatever's sort of left in that bay, and if the compost is then ready by then, I'll just mix it all together and make this super mix of cow manure and compost. Won't that be fantastic? And in the second bay there, I'm just going to throw down some of that gym matting and that signage and anything that I have to make sure that grass and weeds don't grow in that space in the meantime, while I'm waiting for that first pile to decay down.
Columbo.
Manure? I barely know.
Thank you so much for the tier 3 for 46 months. And the terrible joke. How you doing?
That'll do the trick.
It'll fucking do, mate.
The shoveling begins.
Just a quick hello. It's good to see you. I'm jamming out to this, to be honest. I'm enjoying this tune.
It's getting warm. Well, that's a lot of manure. Whew. How do I look?
Look like a champion, bro.
Shoveling all that manure in there, about a ton.
Look like fucking Popeye.
Gave the old biceps and shoulders a workout. Well, I'm really happy with the way this refurbishment has gone. This recycled plastic, what it's going to do is a number of things. It not only rejuvenates and gives this more time, probably another decade, but it's going to give it more integrity as well. Wrapping that plastic around, it's not going to crack. This polyplastic, it is UV super duper treated. It's not going to crack, it's not going to get hard, it's not going to split, it's not going to degrade. The other thing it'll do is it will keep the heat in. It'll give some insulation to those compost piles, and that's good because you want those piles to heat up, and if they heat up, the hotter they get, the better that compost and the faster that compost is made. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you go to plasticforests.com.au and check out their range.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing that. Well, chat, that was fun, wasn't it? What a fun, wonderful, cheeky little stream that we've had here today. Listen, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It's been really, really fun. We're gonna go and raid someone now. We're gonna go and raid Showbree. This is someone I've not raided in a long, long time. I've not had the chance to check out any of their stuff or streams or anything like that. If Twitch isn't working for you for whatever reason and it's not bringing you to the raid, here is a link in the chat. There you go, to the channel that we're going to. I don't know why it doesn't fucking work, but yeah, we're gonna go check out Showbree. She's streaming Persona 4 Golden. join me for the raid. That would be really, really cool. Chat, I won't be back tomorrow because, of course, I'm going to be down in London doing some stuff. I'll be just on the way back at the normal time of streaming. So I will see you all on Wednesday. Very much looking forward to seeing you all again on Wednesday. And yeah, I hope you have an excellent rest of your evening. Thank you so much, everybody, tonight for all the donos. Had some massive donos today. Really, really appreciate that. 530 quid. Fucking buzzing. Well on the way to getting our March dono goal. God, I forgot what fucking month it was then. Yeah, don't forget, it's movie night this weekend in the Discord. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Check out my other socials, etc. And yeah, thank you if you've been lurking, chatting, subscribe, comment, all that stuff on YouTube. I'll see you tomorrow. Mwah. Peace, 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 peace. Good night.